What's going on, fellow A-plusers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new live episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news, streaming for you guys live this beautiful Saturday or Sunday. God, it's the new year. It's the new weekend. I don't even know what time it is, unfortunately, but it is, in fact, Sunday morning, as we're going to be bringing you guys 6 incredible topics that we're going to be diving into today. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the upcoming animated series, is in the news, as we're going to go ahead and review a brand new trailer that wind up dropping. When it comes to the DCU, we got some great stuff to talk about too. Some screen testings for Superman, what's going on with those, along with new casting for Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, as Jason Momoa joins the cast. But as who, we're going to talk about it, guys. So sit back, relax, have your coffee, and we'll see you on the other side. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of A-Plus Hero Report, streaming live today over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. It is good to see you guys here today. Thank you so much, everybody that certainly joined us today. It's the brand new year. We didn't have a show as of yesterday or last weekend, but we're back to go ahead and ring in the new year with you guys. We've had some great content up on the page for you guys regardless this week, but it's fantastic to be back here with you guys to talk about all the amazing topics for us to catch up to today. Not just myself, but as always, my fantastic co-host Stuart Branscombe in the house. What's going on, buddy? Happy New Year, man.
Hey man, happy New Year to you as well. Yeah, how have you been the last couple of weeks? Because unfortunately I didn't. Not only were we not able to do Hero Report last week, but I unfortunately once again was not able to make it to another Skeleton Crew review, which I will definitely be there for the finale. But yeah, with that all being said, though, how have you been?
Not too bad, man. Good New Year so far. Feeling rejuvenated, a little bit tired from the holidays, I'm not going to lie, but I'm ready to get 2025 on for sure. Hopefully some big things happen for our channel and ourselves here. Yeah, man, I'm excited. It's been keeping me busy so far, but I'm liking the trajectory so far. So we'll see how it goes, man. How about you? What you been up to lately?
Not much, but I don't know what it is about this year. It feels like this is the first New Year's I've had since 2020 where it actually feels kind of like a fresh start, you know? And it's not like anything is like different dramatically, but it's the first year where I'm like, I feel like I'm actually ready to commit to some of my New Year's resolutions, such as kind of eating healthier and then maybe even trying to like exercise every now and then.
I feel you, man. Yeah, I went to my girlfriend the other day. I weighed myself on the scale. I think when I met her, I was maybe like 170. And now I'm like 187. I'm like, babe, I'm nearly pushing 200 pounds. Like I feel like I'm working my way there. You know, I've always wanted to be like 185, you know, but I don't know what it is. Now that I'm at 185 or 187, I'm like, yeah, I got to do something with all this, right? Like the point of me gaining the weight was eventually to work out and maybe turn it into some muscle or whatever the case may be. So I was like, so now this might be the year I actually try and do something about it. You know what I'm saying? But it's all that holiday eating for sure, man.
Oh, definitely. No, that was actually kind of my main motive to like start eating healthier is just in general, how much sugar I've kind of consumed like the last couple of weeks. All the holiday cookies and stuff. And then I've also made my own like kind of holiday treats as well. And it's just like, I've been consuming a lot. I need to slow down on this stuff and like actually start getting a little healthier.
No, I feel you, man. How's the movie business doing for you? How's the movie theaters? Are you guys been slammed or are things cooling off a little bit now that it's the New Year's?
You know, it's funny. We had a bit of a huge slowdown during December when Mufasa came out because we always put the new movies in theater one. And we figured at least on the weekends, like most movies, it would have, sold out. This must have been one of the most underwhelming like openings we've ever had for a movie. Yeah. So like basically I think I don't think we ever sold more than 100 tickets for this movie.
Wow.
And that's in like our big theater too. So yeah, unfortunately that movie did not do well for us. But then we got the new movie Nickel Boys, which is doing a lot better for us now in theater one. It's not like selling out like crazy like Nosferatu or Wicked was, but it's still still doing pretty decent compared to Mufasa. So we're back to like, you know, somewhat of a steady you know, business kind of going on now. But now that it's January, I do suspect that the next weekend is going to be another pretty big slowdown.
Slow down. Yeah, there's a couple movies I still want to see out there. A Complete Unknown with Timothy Chalamet. I want to see that. The Bob Dylan biopic. There's another one out there. I think it's called A Fire Inside or The Fire Inside, about a female Olympic boxer or something like that. That looks pretty fascinating to me. And then Wolfman, I think, comes out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I really love his work on The Invisible Man, and so I'm interested to see what Wolfman is going to do. We actually have a story highlighting the Wolfman movie for you guys here today, so we'll definitely dive into that. But yeah, man, good luck to your 2025, Stuart. Hopefully 2025 is certainly good for us also here at the channel. More improvements, more production value, maybe even some additional team members this year. We'll certainly see what we do here this year. But everybody that's watching us live, Happy New Year. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic 2025 also. And remember, as we go through these topics, these are simply just our A+ opinions. We always want to know yours. And we do love shouting out people that are joining us in our live feed today. So look, as we're going through this, if you want to participate, if you want to leave comments wherever you're watching us from, please do. We love conversing with you guys back and forth and making this a big discussion. Shout out to Enrique, certainly coming through. Hey, Adam, just saw the first looks of the upcoming Captain America 4 Brave New World and live action Snow White during the Disney Parks Magical Christmas Day Parade. Very cool. I didn't even know they had a parade themselves. Also, 2025 is a big year. Anniversaries, including 10 years Dino Charge for Power Rangers, and 30 years MMPR the movie. Oh my god.
Oh wow.
I remember seeing that in theaters, man. Oh my gosh. And Casper the Friendly Ghost and Toy Story in 1995. That's bananas to me. Also, Golden Globes Awards is airing tonight, okay, on CBS channel, and all the winners will be revealed today. You know, I don't remember the last time I actually watched the full Golden Globes, but I might be interested in checking it out this year, to be honest with you. So maybe that'll be something I watch later tonight. Also, finally saw the official trailer for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Yes, we will be talking about that as well. What's up, Blossom? Certainly good to see you in here today. Thank you so much for certainly coming through. Enrique also says 2025 is going to be a big year for upcoming films. Pixar's Elio, Win or Lose, The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, Zootopia 2, and Superman 2. For those of you who missed it, me and Stuart did drop our top 5 most anticipated movies for 2025. We have our list up over on our YouTube channel. If you haven't checked out the video, go ahead and do it. I did put some timelines on there, so if you want to skip from top 5 to top 1, you know, to our number 1, feel free to. But I did put a timeline up there for you guys to follow up. Hunter, what's up, Hunter? Iggy, who do you see Henry Cavill back in the do you see Henry Cavill back in the DCU? As for me, General Zod. So he wants to see General Zod back. You know, I wouldn't mind Henry Cavill coming back to the DCU, but I'm talking like 10 years down the road. You know, like I need him to play like the most obscure character, to where he like makeup, you know, somebody in the cosmic world. I don't know, but I wouldn't mind it. At this point, I definitely want to see Henry Cavill more in the MCU in some way. But if he were to pop back up in the DCU, I'm talking like 10 years, Stuart, because he can't be this close to our Superman.
You know who I want to see him as, actually? And this completely comes from his movie Man from U.N.C.L.E. and when he was in the Mission Impossible movie. So I think he would just make a really good spy. I think he'd be a perfect human target.
I like that. But I just know the moment that he's in the DCU, fanboys are going to be so upset.
Oh yeah, that's why if he does come to the DCU, I don't want him to play a character related to Superman in any way, shape, or form.
Anyway,
just like keep him far away from that, so that way fans don't get like all like pissed off and
make him Swamp Thing. Yeah. You know, make him Swamp
Thing.
So you just can't even tell.
He's got the build for it, you know.
Marcelino, what's up, Marcelino? My question is a little bit long today, but I do have my reasons why. You'll find it fascinating. Okay, cool, man. We always appreciate it, Marcelino. Thanks so much for certainly coming through today. Look, guys, if you want to help out the channel monetarily, feel free to go ahead and do so. You can send in some super chats if you want to. If you do provide a super chat, we'll certainly stop what we're doing. We'll celebrate you for all the support here on the channel. There's super images or something like that. We also have an Amazon wish list in our description box if you want to go and help us out with some equipment here for the channel. But if you can't help us out monetarily, it really does go a long way by just hitting that like button. It's absolutely free. It takes you 2 seconds if you haven't done it as of yet. Feel free to share these videos. Let people know A Plus Hero Report is live today. Sir, before we get into our honorable mentions, one of the things, there's a video that I wanted to make that I didn't get the opportunity to make yet, and that was going to be like our top 5 movies of the year, like top 5 movies that we've seen so far this year. And while I didn't have enough time to really sit back and think about it, what I wanted to do was I just want to go down my AMC stubs list of movies that I've seen this year and really pick out the top 5 to me that kind of maybe at another time I'll put them in order. But as of right now, my top 5 movies that I've seen this year: Nosferatu, brand new. I literally just saw this movie. I loved it. Robert Eggers can almost do no wrong to me, honestly.
I am seeing that one on Tuesday.
I had a blast with that movie. Nosferatu is up there. Wicked is another one for me. I don't know if I have it as high as a lot of people are saying, like best movie of the year sort of thing, but I had a really fun time with that film. Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, really impressed the hell out of me. I was kind of jealous you got the opportunity to put it on your list when we did our top 5 movies for 2024, but I wanted to put that on my list so badly. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is my number 4 on there as well. And a dark horse that really surprised me this year, Monkey Man. I don't know if you've ever got the opportunity to see Monkey Man or not, but I thought that movie was absolutely incredible. I can't remember the gentleman, the main guy, the actor in it, but it was not only I think it was his directorial debut, and he blew me out of the water with it. I thought the story was fantastic, along with incredible action sequences. It definitely has like a societal sort of message undertones to it that I really kind of hit me. And believe it or not, that still manages to make my top 5 of best movies that I've seen this year. And I've seen quite a few. I feel like this is the first year in a long time I've seen a ton of movies. But yeah, that would be my top 5. No particular order, but those would be my top. Dev Patel, yes, Dev Patel. I think this was his directorial debut. He acted in it and he directed it, which is no easy feat whatsoever. But the fact that he was able to pull it off, I had such a blast with Monkey Man. I was really surprised.
I definitely need to watch that movie again because I really did enjoy it the first time. But yeah, it was definitely a movie. Okay, so that one and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. My biggest regret is not watching either of them on the big screen. I watched them both like later on this year after they came available on digital, and I regret it for both of them. They both felt like movies that I really would have like. I enjoyed. Don't get me wrong. I had a great time with them, but I feel like I would have gotten so much more out of them if I saw them in theaters.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you there. Yeah, if I get the opportunity to see a movie I really want to see, it's definitely in theaters for me. Like I wouldn't care if I have like the best sound system or entertainment system at home. Like it's nothing like the movies, man. Nothing like the movies.
Exactly.
But let's go ahead and dive into our first segment of the day, shall we? And we're going to get into our honorable mentions portion of the show. If this is your first time joining us here, just know our honorable mentions segment is just topics that we felt you certainly still deserve to know about, but just didn't quite make our top 6 today. But definitely felt you guys should certainly know about some of them here. Stuart, did you have any honorable mentions for us today at all?
Just the fact that, 10 years ago, Back to the Future lied to us because they told us we were going to have hoverboards, and we still don't have those. And now this year, Power Rangers lied to us because we still don't have a new tech city that is populated by aliens, and we don't have a police force that uses the morphing grid and is led by a talking dog. So, you know what? That's my honorable mention. Our only hope now is 37 years from now, maybe the Jetsons will be the ones to have figured out the future. So in 2062, maybe that's when we'll have that utopian futuristic society.
Man, we got a long way to go, man. But we'll see. If we could just have flying cars by then, I'll give Jetsons the win then.
Yes.
We'll have to see.
Who would have thought the Jetsons would be the one to get the accurate date for flying cars?
Speaking of Back to the Future, shout out to Michael J. Fox this weekend. He got presented with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, if I'm not mistaken, by President Biden here this week for all his hard work from just not only his acting career, but all his work that he's done with Parkinson's, as he's also battling the Parkinson's disease himself. But yeah, Michael J. Fox just got presented with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, along with Denzel Washington, and I think even Bill Nye the Science Guy and a couple other people as well. So very, very well deserving.
Oh, wow.
Let's see here. Honorable mentions. Captain America 4 Brave New World is in the news. We are just over a month away from this film hitting theaters, and some promotional artwork is starting to come out. And Stuart, we've been wanting to kind of get an idea or a glimpse as to who Tim Blake Nelson, or Tim Nelson Blake, Tim Blake Nelson, I can't remember his full name in the order, but the gentleman is going to be playing the leader, coming back from the Incredible Hulk, what he was going to look like. And we've got some promo art. Do you want to see it, Stuart?
I do. Let's check it out. Yeah. I mean, it looks interesting here. I'm curious how it'll look like in motion, like, in like when we actually see him in front of the camera. Like, I hope it doesn't. I hope they don't go for the overly comedic effect like they did with MODOK in Ant-Man. Because I think that they went a little too silly with that. I just wish. Yeah. So I'm hoping they don't do that with this character. Like, yes, I do understand he has a giant forehead and that is really silly looking, but at the same time, I hope they play it just a little bit straighter this time,
Yeah, no, I have a feeling that they will. I mean, he mentioned he wanted it to be practical. He didn't necessarily want this design to be sort of CGI, because he said that he really wanted to feel sort of like the weight of things on him, I guess, from just a performance kind of standpoint. So they definitely are going the practical route here. It feels very sort of comic accurate, if you ask me. I mean, the leader does have a little bit of a set of hair. He's got the goatee sort of thing going, big ass forehead. So it definitely feels very comic accurate to me. I am kind of curious if there are some things I would like to see once it's in motion. If it does it pulsate? Does he have veins, or does a lobe pulsate from time to time back and forth? I wonder if there's some movement in his big ass head or not. But we'll see. I am eager to see what it looks like in live action, along with just the practical effect in general.
That would be cool. I mean, I don't imagine it'd be too hard because they were doing those kind of special effects with the pilot of the original Star Trek series. So I feel like if they could have done that back in 1960, they can definitely do it now in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a semi accurate depiction of what he's certainly going to look like, but I think it's definitely going to look a little bit significantly different once you see it in live action. But yeah, Samuel Stearns comes back as the leader for Captain America 4 Brave New World. Let me know what you guys think. Also, Stuart, Andrew Garfield is in the news this week. Did you hear about this?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield is a report from Deadline. Andrew Garfield denies Spider-Man 4 casting reports. Yeah, he says Andrew Garfield is staying tight-lipped about whether he'll return for the next movie. They quoted him. He was in GQ UK asking him if he was going to be in Spider-Man 4. He says, "I'm going to disappoint you. Yeah, no." And then he goes on to say, "But I know no one's going to trust anything I say from now on." Yeah, Andrew, we don't trust you at all, buddy. So even though Andrew Garfield denies he's going to be in Spider-Man 4, Stuart, is he going to be in Spider-Man 4?
I kind of hope not. I've given my thoughts on like just the whole multiverse side of Spider-Man. Like we already have our Spider-Man multiverse franchise. You know, we had a great multiverse movie with Tom Holland Spider-Man. Let's move on. Let's let Tom Holland develop more in the MCU on his own. You know, have him work with street level heroes. You know, like Daredevil, or anti-heroes like the Punisher.
Yeah, there's a part of me. Yeah, I feel very much the same way. I hope not. I don't necessarily want him in the movie. It's not because I don't like the guy. It just is just like I'm ready. If he were to, if what can you hear me?
Yeah, you just that was weird. Just like I just heard like a bunch of white noise. I'm not sure if that was on your end or my end.
Yeah, it was probably on my end. But yeah, I'm ready to kind of move on. If he were to pop up in something like Secret Wars, that's cool. I really don't have a problem with that. But another Spider-Man multiverse film, I don't necessarily need it. Now, if he does pop up in it and the story is good, hey, cool. Whatever they want to do. But for me personally, I'm kind of under the impression that he's not going to be in this, and I want to believe him, even though I think the fact that he says nobody's going to believe me, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe he is telling the truth this time, but who knows? Maybe it's a double swerve, Stuart, and he's truly like double downing on his line this time. He's just that good. He's just that good.
To me, what makes me think that he might be is the fact that he didn't say, as far as I know, they haven't sent me any, because usually if an actor isn't going to be in an upcoming project that people ask him about, the response is usually, I haven't heard anything about it, or they haven't told me anything, which, means that like, as of now, it's not going to happen, but that doesn't mean it can't happen sometime down the line. The fact that he just straight up denied it, that's what kind of makes me think, oh, he actually might be in this movie.
We'll see, man. We'll see. You can never trust Andrew Garfield. A real quick question. I don't really keep up with actors' personal lives or anything like that, but is him and Florence Pugh a thing? Are they like married? Are they married to each other, or are they? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Or maybe they're like lifelong friends or something like that. I've just been seeing a lot of interviews with the two of them lately, asking each other questions, sometimes intimate questions, sometimes like knowing details about each other that I'm like, oh, maybe they're just really good friends and they know that type of stuff. But the way they interact just feels like, man, you guys would actually be a really great couple if you guys were in fact together. But I don't know. I think they're in the movie together. I think that's why I've been seeing a lot of them recently, probably promoting some stuff, but I don't know.
So they're both in the movie We Live in Time. And as I Googled the two of their names together, I guess there must be like an intimate scene between the two of them that they both were not like uncomfortable as in they didn't want to do it, but more like they did it, but it was very much like not a fun scene for either of them to film. That's what the headlines of these articles are kind of like suggesting.
Okay, so maybe they're not together, but I do wonder if they're lifelong friends. I mean, they do feel like they know each other relatively well. So I wonder if they've known each other for a few years. Yeah, I do remember hearing an interview where he said one of their scenes went on a little bit too long, but it's only because they didn't hear them say cut at the time.
Oh, that's funny.
And so they kept just going. They just kept going with it, and then eventually one of them looked up and they just saw like everybody just staring at him, like guys, we called cut a while ago.
That's
so
funny.
Maybe that's where it's coming from. Okay,
it's like something straight out of a comedy right there.
yeah, for sure. All right, awesome. But yeah, guys, that will do it for our honorable mentions. Not too many here this week that I wanted to really tackle. I felt like a lot of the stuff that we got, we really are going to tackle in our top 6 topics. Stuart, by the way, have you been keeping up with Creature Commandos? We did get our very first look at the Batman in DCU. What'd you think about it? I mean, it's just a cameo, but
It's animation, so I can't say for sure if that's what he's gonna like be look like in terms of his build, but I kind of hope so. Like I said, like earlier when we were talking about different actors that could play Batman in the DCU, I want it to be someone not built like crap. Why am I forgetting his name? The Batman.
Ben Affleck.
No. Actually,
Oh,
no. That's
Robert
actually what I
Pattinson.
want. Robert
Oh, Rob
Pattinson.
Pattinson.
That's what I was thinking of. No, I actually want someone built like Ben Affleck, because basically, I just want it to be very obvious. Like, you look at the two of them, and you know that these are not supposed to be the same Batman. So that way, when people go to see this movie, no one's going to be confused about like, oh wait, I'm confused. I thought Robert Pattinson was this Batman or something like that. I want a Batman that just looks so different from Robert Pattinson. So what he looks here, he looks really bulk, but again, that's animation, so it could, it doesn't necessarily have to represent how the actor is going to look in real life. I mean, look at Frank Guerrero. Yes, he's built, but he is not built the way he's drawn in Creature Commandos. So yeah, so we'll have to wait and see, but it is a really cool looking shot. I love how it resembles Batman the Animated Series in terms of like, the lightning behind him and just like the outline of his suit. And yeah, I also, did you see that interview with James Gunn when he talked about this scene?
Yeah, a little bit, but yeah, go ahead, go on.
Just the fact that they almost showed more of the costume, and he was like, I'm not quite ready to commit to that yet. I thought that was really funny. And I think it's cool that Creature Commandos is able to open up the universe, but still keep things vague enough so that whenever someone comes in to, write their own version of this character, they're not like restricted in like, oh, because we already established this in Creature Commando, you can't do this stuff. So for example, Clayface and Sergeant Rock, we know that there's going to be a movie based on the two of them at some point down the line. And I like how, because of the way they're presented in Creature Commando, it's so vague that, you don't have to worry about like creative restrictions, basically.
Yeah, I did read that. I remember I did watch some of the clips of the interview of James Gunn, and he's like, let's go with more silhouette, like we're not ready to commit to that just yet. So I'm glad that they kind of scaled back a little bit in revealing this. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, this definitely one of the things that I said in my last review. I have a Creature Commandos episode 6 review set to go ahead and drop later this afternoon for you guys at 4 p.m. It's already scheduled, but one of the things that I said in there is that, we also have to take into account that this was definitely written before he became the CEO of DC Studios, right? So he definitely had something else completely in mind. And so now that this is now that he is in charge, I feel like this has like a whole new meaning, in regards to this being his official quote unquote debut here. But clearly, this may not be what his final look is like in the movies itself. But seeing him bulky like this, a part of me just goes back to the gentleman that played Hawk from Titans in Rickson or something like that? Richardson?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his last name, but I remember him being up for. I remember him throwing his name in the hat for potentially playing Batman. And that guy's swole too, and he's been doing a lot of work, I think, in the Jack Reacher. Is he the Jack Reacher Amazon series guy? So he's been showing a lot more of his range for sure. So maybe it's an opportunity there for him. I know some people have been looking for Jensen Ackles to go ahead and play Batman. I think there's a lot of really great options out there for James Gunn if he hasn't found one as of yet. But I'm eager to find out who he'll eventually cast.
Yeah, it's hilarious how many people really want Jensen Ackles, and I'm not against that idea. Let me just point that out there. He's just not my number one pick for sure. But I would have, of course, loved to have seen him play Batman like on one of the Arrowverse shows like back in the day. That would have been really, really awesome.
Yeah, that would have been pretty epic. But yeah, guys, let us know some of your thoughts. Again, I do have a Creature Commandos episode 6 review dropping at 4 p.m. for you guys to go ahead and certainly check out. But all right, Stuart, it's that time. You ready to get into some main topics with me, man?
Always.
Let's do it. All right, guys. First topic up today, we're going to get into our main thumbnail, as you guys saw here, kicking us off with the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Got ourselves a brand new trailer. We even got some new promotional art for you guys to examine as we go through all of our main topics here today. But we did get ourselves an official trailer. I think I don't remember getting a teaser or maybe a brief teaser trailer of like 20-30 seconds or something like that a while back. But considering exactly like how close we are to the premiere of this animated series, this drops January 29th, if I'm not mistaken. I honestly thought we would have gotten a lot more promotional and marketing for this earlier than what we certainly have. But look, the official trailer has officially dropped for us here today. We're probably going to go ahead and watch it again. I'm sure. Stuart, have you checked it out yourself?
I have indeed.
So we're probably going to go ahead and check it out a little bit, give you our thoughts on it, talk about some of the promo work and where we're going to go from here. For those of you who are not familiar with this animated series, Wikipedia does say that it is based on the Marvel character Spider-Man. It's intended to be it's produced by Marvel Animation. The series explores Peter Parker's origin story and early days as Spider-Man, and is set in an alternate timeline from the main films and television series of the MCU, where Norman Osborn becomes Parker's mentor instead of Tony Stark. They got a couple, and they do name some of the head writers here, but Hudson Thames, who voiced Peter Parker from the What If series, is in fact going to be the one voicing him in here as well. It says it was originally intended to be set in the main MCU continuity, but the creative team found it's too restrictive and decided to move to an alternate timeline. So that's why, if things look a little bit different in this series, that is why. So you know what, Stuart, let's go ahead and dive into this trailer, man, and give our thoughts here. Let me try and pull this up here. All right, let's do this. Coming in at 2 minutes. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man set to drop January 29th.
Peter, you're gonna be late.
I'm okay.
Hey. Petey's always been a bit clumsy.
You know me, clumsy, pity, Parky.
Is that Liv Allen? Liz
Mr.
Allen?
I remembered I left something in the bathroom. Deuces. Parker out.
Superpower size kid, know you want a neighbor like me. Look out.
Somebody help me! He's running, grab him! Gotcha!
I thought it was dead meat.
Check out our next victim in his dumbass costume.
Is my suit really that bad? Ouch!
Oh!
Watch out for that ladder! Just consider it a good deed from your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That's me, by the way. I'm Spider-Man.
There we go, there we go, there we go again. Swinging through the city so fast you could barely notice him.
I truly believe that I have these powers to help people, to protect them.
Need my city,
that's
you
cool.
need me. Taking off the mask, I know what you see. Know you want a neighbor like me. Just a young man cleaning up the streets. Ain't nothing changed, no, this is the real me.
So, you're Spider-Man. With my help, you'll achieve greatness.
Oh man, this suit's incredible! If you ever need another butt kicking, just look for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Know you want a neighbor like
And no, you may not be excused from said test. Ah, nice of you to join us, Mr. Parker. See me after class.
My man can't catch a break ever.
Never.
Never. Initial thoughts, Stuart? What'd you think of it, man?
I mean, okay, so I love the art style, the animation, and hopefully I'm wrong when the actual show comes out. Animation just looks so sluggish and just I don't know, just really stiff, I guess, is like my big thing. But I love the art style. I love how it resembles like the really old school run of Spider-Man. I love the color palettes that they use. In fact, also just kind of, gives you that kind of like kind of vintage, vibe to the whole thing. So I love that. But yeah, the animation is like the number one thing that just doesn't stand out as much as I wish it did. Especially comparing it to other Marvel animations that we've gotten, like with X-Men 97 and even What If. I know we haven't really talked about What If this season, but What If I kind of noticed this last season has also kind of had that same problem where the animation just isn't as fluid as it was for the first two seasons. So I don't know. Again, I hope that when the show comes out, like maybe there's just a lot that happens in the show that they don't show us in the trailer and it ends up looking a lot better. But yeah, it's the animation that's really throwing me off right now at the moment. But the things that I do like, though, besides the art style, I do like setting this outside the MCU because, you know, the farther that we went along in the Spider-Man trilogy, the less it was going to make sense to have this movie take place or have this series take place before the first movie. And I think that, yeah, doing it this way, having it in its own universe, it gives them the creative freedom to use, like, you know, more characters from the Spider-Man comic books. And I like how we get to have like this in a way almost feels like a what if kind of scenario of what if Marvel always had the rights to Spider-Man and all of his rogues gallery. You know, what would Spider-Man have looked like in the MCU if they didn't have to constantly collaborate with Sony? So I like to look at the series like that. I also love his prototype suit that we see in the beginning. Like the one that he gets from Norman Osborn here looks pretty cool too, but I really love that first homemade design. Yeah, this one right here. I actually really love this design. So I hope we get it for a little bit in the first couple of episodes. And then lastly, the voice acting looks pretty solid so far.
Yeah, I am a fan of the voice acting work that we're getting here. You know, I am kind of curious as to how long he's going to have this Oscorp suit for compared to the prototype. You know, because in some of the later promotional work, we'll see a more traditional Spider-Man suit. But considering the fact that this trailer has only shown us just really 2 Spider-Man suits, I am kind of curious as to like the time, like how long, like like for all of season 1, is it just going to be those 2 suits, and then at that tail end we get introduced to the classic one? So I am kind of curious. I mean, I think the Oscorp one looks really slick, honestly, but I would agree with you. I am kind of a fan of the prototype stuff. I mean, we've seen various prototypes from Spider-Man in either movies, comic books, and stuff, and I am a big fan of this one also. You know, I still don't know how to feel about I like the animation personally, but I totally understand what you mean with about its like fluidity. It's almost like it's running a couple like megabytes behind, or like the like it's not refreshing immediately, sort of thing. It can feel kind of jagged at times, but there's an element to it that I kind of dig. Like I don't know what it is. It feels like it's rough. I kind of dig the grittiness of the art style and the movements of it. Especially like when we see him defending Harry Osborn in the alley, and he grabs the brick and he pulls it back, and then he pulls the ladder down. Like it, I totally get what you mean, but for some reason it works for me, at least. I think the web slinging in here is going to be really great also. I think, yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's a fair judgment in regards to how people feel about it. But I would agree with you. I'm glad you brought up the color palette too. There is an aspect of, and we've mentioned this every time that we've talked about this, the classic Steve Ditko kind of Spider-Man vibe that really works for me. Like I literally feel like, especially when they have like the cartoon panels that pop up in here too, it literally feels like a comic book sort of come to life for me. And that's exactly something that I'm really eager to kind of see when it comes to another Spider-Man animated series. So again, it feels like it's very classic Spider-Man, 1960s Spider-Man mixed with the more modern era, if you will. You know, I hear some people complaining about it, all the diversity and stuff in it, and I'm like, clearly you've never been to Queens, New York, my guy, because this is Queens exactly. So it's like it fits perfectly for me in here. And I am interested to see this alternate storyline. I like you, I'm a fan of the idea that it's not in the MCU, although there is a scene in this trailer, if you catch it, where he stops a car from hitting a bus, and it looks like the very same video that Tony Stark watched, or that we saw in either Civil War or we saw in the first Spider-Man, where he has a video of him, Tom Holland Spider-Man, saving a car from a bus that same very way. And so I do find it cool that there is some parallels in that regards. But it is certainly set in an alternate Earth. And the idea of Norman Osborn being sort of a mentor, I don't think I don't know if that's new from some alternate versions that we've seen from Spider-Man or not. But it is a concept that I'm a big fan of. I kind of want to see him go down that path, and I'm a really big fan of the voice actor that's playing Norman Osborn in here too. I can't remember. He's a really great actor also. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I would agree with you in the sense that the voice acting certainly seems to be there. I am eager to see Hudson Thames in this particular role. Also, I really enjoyed him in his What If series that he was in. So I find more things good with this than bad with it. I'm just hoping that the story is certainly going to be there, and I do feel like they have purposefully not revealed too much of this series or the concepts or whatever is going to be happening in the show. I do think they kept it really kind of close to the vest, so I'm kind of intrigued to kind of see the direction that this is going to go. Besides the idea of knowing that Norman is going to be mentoring him, I don't think we've seen a lot of the rogues gallery that he's going to be facing, with the exception of the gentleman that throws the fire flames, and just knowing who Norman eventually does go on to become. Whether or not that's something that's tapped into here in season 1 or not, that I don't know. But they have really done a good job of not revealing too much in any of these trailers or first looks. So I'm excited for it, man. I really am. I definitely think that we probably will be doing reviews for the channel for this here. I would assume they're going to be dropping these episodes weekly. I don't know if they're going to be dropping them all at once. I do think Disney Plus is more of a weekly kind of release. But for me, yeah, like I totally understand the idea of how sluggish the animation and the movements look. But there's something that, for me at least, there's something gritty about it that kind of works for me. It's kind of like it's not the same art style, but it's kind of how I felt about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. How, while it's not gritty, I don't think the movements are super smooth either in that. But based off of the action, like it still works for me. If that feels like I don't know if that's a fair comparison or not, but that when I think of the sluggish movements, that's when I think of Mutant Mayhem too. But for me, it kind of worked in that as well.
I could kind of see that. I think though, like when I look at this, and again, this is just based on the trailer, so it could change when the show comes out. It doesn't look purposeful, whereas like with Mutant Mayhem, that like kind of sluggish animation feels like it's like a purposeful like art style. Also, something I wanted to point out that I thought was kind of cool. So you mentioned the voice actor for Norman Osborn. So it's Coleman Domingo, who actually was at our theater at one point for the movie Sing Sing. He was at the premiere of it. Unfortunately, I was not working in Theater 1, which is the one that movie was playing in. I was upstairs, so I didn't actually get to see him, but yeah, just a fun bit of trivia.
what movie was that? I think I spoke over you. I'm sorry.
Sing Sing.
Sing Sing. Okay, I don't think I've heard of that one before, but maybe I'll have to check it out. I do like Mr. Domingo as an actor, so I'd be interested. Marcelino says, if the animation doesn't improve and continues to be stiff and sluggish, could you look past it if the writing is great?
Yes, I actually can look past bad animation if the writing is there. I mean, dude, I love Dragon Ball Z, and we all know that show didn't become popular because of its animation.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I don't have a problem with it. I can understand people's complaints about it for sure. I think that's a valid criticism of it for sure. But yeah, I think for me too, it's because of they've gone with such a classic art style in the sense of literally ripping Steve Ditko's kind of stuff from the page, and it feeling like comic book, like a comic book. It almost feels like the panels are literally coming to life. So it not only even say like, it's like taking comic book panel animation and making it almost like stop motion, as like fluid as you could possibly get it to be, if that makes any sense. Like if I were to trace out a Spider-Man or a Peter Parker out of a comic book and kind of make them in animation form, like if that's what it feels like to me. And so like I kind of dig it. I'm eager to see what the action pieces are going to look like, because even when he's in his Oscorp suit and he's swinging, and then he jumps to the roof or to the window, and then he falls back, like some of that seems relatively smooth to me. So I would be interested to see how it looks in real time when we actually see it outside of the outside of the trailers itself.
Definitely.
There are some promotion artwork that we wind up seeing here. Let me pull this up here for you. This is another look at the suit that you love so much. I really dig it too, Stu. I really do. Got a little bit of a spider sense here. I'm assuming those are. I'm assuming he's wearing a backpack full of web fluid that goes through the tubes out of his shooters here. And then we also have another look at the Oscorp suit. So slick, man. This is pretty badass, I think, in regards to the Oscorp suit. They did also release some more classic webhead kind of designs here of Spider-Man. If this ain't Steve Ditko's artwork, I don't know what is, dude. This looks crazy to me. And then this is our first time getting the opportunity to see some rogues gallery and some friends here. We get the opportunity to see Doc Ock. There's Scorpion back there. The Scorcher. I don't even know what his name is, honestly. The fire guy from the trailer. Doctor Strange is up in here too. I think Daredevil might be in here. I thought I saw some artwork of Daredevil somewhere in a promotional image or a trailer. So maybe Daredevil's in this season too. We do have a little bit of a glimpse at some of the supporting characters that are going to be in here too.
He was definitely meant to be in the season earlier. When the show was first announced, they showed like kind of concept art for Daredevil, and that he'd be wearing like kind of a black suit, but it would still be the classic design with the horn, so not like the original suit that he wore in the TV show. So I do think he's going to be in this, unless plans had changed since then. But since he's not on this photo here, probably it's just going to be like for one episode. And then I'm curious because it's supposed to be kind of MCU adjacent in a way. I'm curious if for the Scorpion, they got the same actor that played him briefly in Spider-Man Homecoming, the guy from Better Call Saul.
Yeah, that's a good question. I am kind of curious if he's going to be in this whatsoever. Yeah, I'm curious if they got him back as the voice acting. There was another image that I remember we had gotten a long time ago. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. Yeah, I remember this artwork. And I think maybe this is where I got the idea that maybe some other characters were going to be popping up in here. There's even a Venom symbiote on here. If you see, yeah, there's the Daredevil on the far right and mostly black with the red stripes. Iron Man is in here. Even in the trailer, we get the opportunity to see Captain America standing next to Norman Osborn. That's pretty fascinating to me. Let me see who else we get. There's even another Spider-Man variant all the way to the far left. I remember this guy from the comic books with the Wasp sort of or Yellow Jacket sort of wing. He's rocking the purple and the blue. I wonder if that's like another prototype vest that maybe Oscorp comes up with for him before they settle on the actual Oscorp suit itself. One of the aspects about this show that I really am fond of, Stuart, is we even get the opportunity. I think that's Liz Allen, or was it Liz Allen, in the beginning of this trailer as she bumps into Peter. She looks almost like her counterpart from the MCU Homecoming movie. But it's really the supporting cast. I am kind of curious to see like the friends that he makes, the people in his school, his classmates and stuff. Because for me, those were always some of the best supporting cast members in comic books, but always really what made Peter Parker tick at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Because obviously we'll definitely have our Harry Osborn, something that we didn't get in the Homecoming trilogy. But I am very curious too, because we also get like I forgot her name, but the one character from one of Runaways as like one of his classmates here. So yeah, that'll be pretty cool to see. Yeah, it always feels like with all these Spider-Man animated shows, like you always get some characters that are straight from the comic books, but then they always add like kind of one character, like in the Spider-Man trilogy for the MCU, for example. It's like they add Ned, who kind of is based on a character from the Miles Morales comic books, but is also kind of a different like variant take on that character. So yeah, it is always interesting when they add kind of new characters for him to interact with.
Yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, I'm eager to see what this story is like, man. Again, I think they've been keeping it very close to the vest for a reason. But with it taking place in an alternate reality, it should be kind of fun to kind of see just really new stories kind of being told, and having a creative writing team to just have a sandbox of all these characters that they can kind of play with. I am fascinated about how this works when it comes to Sony. I mean, I know Sony has always had the rights, but I guess maybe that's just live action Spider-Man. I guess Marvel can really do as many animated Spider-Mans they want to, huh?
That's what I've heard, is that when it comes to animation, Disney doesn't have to ask for permission or anything from Sony. They can just do whatever they want.
Did you watch Spectacular Spider-Man?
Spectacular. That was the one on Disney Channel, like early 2000s, right?
I think so. I've heard a lot of people mention it as sometimes some of their like best Spider-Man stuff. I haven't really watched I haven't sat down and watched a Spider-Man animated show hardcore since really the 90s version, which always has a warm place in my heart. But I have heard younger generations talk a little bit about Spectacular Spider-Man as being some of their favorites. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious. For those that are watching us live, do you have a favorite animated Spider-Man series that you grew up on or were always a big fan of or talked highly about? I wouldn't mind tapping into some old animation before we get into this new series.
Yeah, because I've seen a couple of episodes of Spectacular Spider-Man. I didn't watch it that much as a kid for some reason. But I remember I tried to watch the one that came out like 2010s, I want to say, the one where he's voiced by Drake Bell. I tried to watch that, but I couldn't get too much into it. Oh, nice. Love the Spider-Man mug. I don't know what it was about it. I just wasn't for me. But yeah, I really should go back and watch something Spider-Man related before this comes out.
Yeah, I might dive into it. But yeah, as far as I know, we definitely I don't know if you want to join me, Stuart, or if it's just going to be me solo. I don't even know when January 29th is, but regardless, we definitely will be having a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man review for you guys on the channel. Marcelino does clarify Nico Minoru, aka Sister Grimm from Runaways, will be in the new cartoon. So yeah, that's what he's yeah. Spectacular Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man cartoon. Even 90s kids who grew up on the 90s cartoon have said it's the best Spider-Man cartoon. Okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
Maybe I'll check it out. I'm kind of curious how many seasons it was, but
I think it was only 2 seasons if I remember correctly.
What?
Yeah, because you know Disney. Yeah, Disney sucks.
I don't know. Look, I'm gonna say something right now, and this may be controversial, but I'll look and see how many seasons it really had. But if this show only had 2 seasons, bruh, I'm sorry, you can't be in the running for anything great. Okay, I'm sorry, like you just can't. I mean, maybe it's great, but if it's it got canceled at season 3, and they were planned for 5. Okay, all right, maybe 3 seasons. All right, maybe I'll give that to you. I don't even know how many. I don't even know how long Spider-Man 90s went on for, but I felt like they hit so many damn storylines, and I felt like that show was on forever. Who knows? But back in the day, our seasons were different, man. Like it's so funny. I was watching trying to watch Lost with my girlfriend, and she was blown away. She was like, she thought we were on like season 3. And I was like, no, girl, we're on season 1. She's like, damn, how many episodes they got? I'm like, girl, it's like 23 episodes. She's like, what? Y'all watch this weekly? It's like, yeah, yes. TV was different back then.
Yeah, so different. Back when it wasn't meant to be, completely binged.
Yeah, absolutely. Ramjam, I love the 60s Spider-Man cartoon, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I was also one of my favorites. I also like the 80s Spider-Man cartoon. The 80s, huh? I don't recall that one. I remember the 60s Spider-Man cartoon and the Amazing Friends because of the VHSs that I used to pick up back in the day when I was a kid. Marcelino says if you watched it, Adam, then your mind might change. You're right, Marcelino. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna check it out. Try and see how many episodes I can get in before this new animated series winds up dropping.
Yeah, I do remember Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and yeah, it definitely, you can tell when it was made because it's quite campy. Not like that. That's a bad thing, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts on the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man trailer that wind up dropping. What is your anticipation level for this series? You know, we posted it on our Facebook page. It's beginning. I will say the reactions have been really positive towards it, but of course, you're always going to get those comments. Every now and then in regards to the upcoming show, but regardless, I'm really looking forward to seeing this. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts and your anticipation level for this animated series.
Yeah, I feel like this is the type of show that, you know, the people who are going to hate it have already decided that they're going to hate it before
Yeah.
even giving it a chance.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. With that out of the way, Stuart, let's move on to our next topic as we're going to dive into the world of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which, believe it or not, guys, gets ready to begin filming here in maybe like a week. They're getting ready to go ahead in front of the cameras. I want to say they start filming on the 10th or like 13th of this month. I do believe Lanterns is still scheduled to go ahead and begin production maybe later on this month as well. I'll keep you posted on that, but we're going to be focusing on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Not only are they set to go ahead and get into production relatively soon, but Stuart, we got some casting announcements or brand new casting announcements that I think will certainly please a lot of people. I think we kind of saw this coming, but we didn't necessarily, I don't think necessarily know when this was coming, what movie he was going to be in whatsoever. But Jason Momoa's dream has officially come true, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. It has recently been reported that Jason Momoa will in fact be playing Lobo in the upcoming Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. He's been talking highly about this ever since he stopped playing his role in Aquaman, or hell, maybe even before Aquaman released doing interviews. He might have been talking about it for all I know. But he is ready to go ahead and play this role. Let's go ahead and bring up this article, man. This actually comes to us from deadline.com. Jason Momoa to play Lobo in Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Jason Momoa, star of Warner Brothers DC DC's Aquaman films, has been tapped to play Lobo in Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, confirmed by Deadline. It goes on to say Momoa has been linked to the Lobo role since before James Gunn came into lead DC alongside Peter Safran. He's been vocal in the past about his interest in the part, and today confirmed his attachment to the role in a post on Instagram where he screenshotted comments from a past interview. He says, "I collect comics and I don't do so much anymore, but was always my favorite. And I always wanted to play Lobo because I'm like, hello, it's the perfect role," said the actor. Momoa went on to say that should DC come around asking him to play Lobo, it would be an F yeah. And then alongside the Instagram screenshot, he captioned, "They called."
They called.
They called. An anti-hero known for his violent and irreverent personality who hails from the planet Zarnia. Lobo possesses superhuman strength, regenerative abilities, and an invulnerability that makes him a formidable opponent. He was first introduced in Omega Man #3 back in June of 1983. Plot details for the new Supergirl are currently under wraps. But the article does state, as previously reported, House of Dragons' Millie Alcock landed the title role. Craig Gillespie will direct from a script by Anna Noguera that James Gunn has really touted as like an incredible script. The project is based on Tom King's 2022 comic book series, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And I do believe, I don't think it's in this this article here, but I think Tom King in a recent interview mentioned the idea. And again, I have not read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow for myself, but I did read somewhere that Tom King mentioned that Lobo was originally supposed to be in the comic book series, but then was eventually taken out, and I guess he rewrote it however he certainly did. So, and based off of just how invested Tom King has been in regards to being attached to the DCU, James Gunn I don't know if he goes to him necessarily for creative inspiration or whatnot, or like a creative consultant, but Tom King is working on some DCU projects as well. I do wonder if he had any say in regards to Lobo now being thrusted into the story that I don't think he is in the comic books itself. If you guys have read Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, just confirm that for me. I don't believe he's in the comic book series, but Tom King did say originally he did have plans on putting him in here. So maybe Tom King and Anna Noguera came together and found a way to certainly include him in this. But Stuart, let me ask you, man, how are you feeling about Jason Momoa getting an opportunity to finally play his dream role here?
You know, I thought he would be awesome for the job for a while, and then I saw the most recent Fast and Furious movie, and then I'm like, nope, he's perfect. He is perfect for the role of Lobo. So this, to me, I think is great casting, and yeah, it's probably one of the worst kept secrets in Hollywood. And I think it's funny because I think I remember an interview where he also said when Zack Snyder originally asked if he'd be interested in a role in the DC universe, I think he himself thought that it was going to be for Lobo and was really surprised when it ended up being Aquaman. So I am absolutely excited. This guy knows how to have fun when he's playing a villain role. And you know, with Woman of Tomorrow, I still have not read that comic book yet, but I really should because I don't remember if I have a physical copy or a digital copy, but I do have it, and I definitely want to try to read it before the movie comes out. But I could, because it all takes place in space, I don't see it being difficult to fit Lobo into the story somewhere, and finding out that he was originally meant to be in the comic book makes total sense to me. So yeah, I am super excited to see this.
Yeah, man, I am too. I am fascinated by this edition here. You know, it takes me back to when the DC animation studio kind of rebooted their stuff after Crisis, and they came out with a brand new Superman movie. I think it was called Man of Tomorrow or some shit like that, like something crazy. I think it was called Superman Man of Tomorrow, and Lobo was actually in that. And I guess the way that Jason Momoa kind of talked about wanting to play Lobo for such like the longest time, there was a part of me that was thinking to myself, like, is James Gunn really about to just adapt this Superman Man of Tomorrow movie and have us have, you know, Superman and Lobo meet each other for the very first time? It didn't, you know, clearly it didn't work out that way, but now the potential of these two meeting somewhere down the line kind of really works for me. But I love this casting choice personally. I totally agree with you. I mean, just from a personality standpoint and the way that Jason Momoa holds himself, this feels like as perfect casting as you could possibly ask for. You know, fan casting at its finest, but I think also the idea that Jason Momoa has wanted to play this character for quite some time. I think he even understands this character on an emotional kind of level. Also, it's just like, bro, it's just me. It's just me being me. So I do think that he's gonna have a fantastic time bringing this character to life. Can't wait to see just how much this dude really bulks up for this role. Now, we have had a Lobo live action depiction before in Krypton, I believe, season 2 on the sci-fi series. Yeah, Jason was certainly meant for this role. I am curious as to how he's certainly going to fit into this Supergirl role, into the Supergirl movie. There is a part of me that is curious as to like how big of a role that he has. Is he going to end up outshining Supergirl in her own movie? I guess maybe if anything, that's like my biggest worry here. I guess if I had to have a comparison, I mean, Lobo feels like he's kind of like the Deadpool of the DCU. Is that an unfair comparison? In regards to personality wise, regenerative health sort of thing.
In a couple of aspects, yeah, and the fact that they're both kind of like, you know, the comedic, they never take anything seriously, and that they're both like really like nearly impossible to kill. But I would say that like Deadpool himself like leans more towards, you know, while you know, it's not that Deadpool himself, values life the way other superheroes do. He definitely values it a lot more than Lobo, pretty much.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, I'm eager to see how this kind of takes shape. Let me also bring up this other report here. This is from Screen Rant, where Tom King does discuss the him actually being in Woman of Tomorrow. Let me try and bring this up here for you. I'm going to go ahead and read this article. This, again, is from Screen Rant. But after the news hit, writer Tom King spoke with the podcast Word Balloon. He says, that book, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, began as me pitching a Lobo and Supergirl book. It was my editor who were like, no, take Lobo out and make Supergirl the Rooster Cogburn character. It wouldn't exist without these editors. During the interview, King spoke about the origins of his series and made the shocking reveal that it began with him pitching the story about Supergirl and Lobo traveling together. However, Lobo's inclusion was cut out, forcing King to rework his story in what eventually became Woman of Tomorrow. So yeah, I am kind of curious with that being known, how they're gonna fit him back into this. Look, I'll be honest. There is a part of me. I am, as much as I love Jason Momoa in this role, I am curious if this is now I don't want to say a buddy cop sort of film, but like, will they now be traveling together? Is this a Supergirl and Lobo movie, or is this still going to be more focused on the adaptation of what actually came out of Woman of Tomorrow, and they're trying to plug Lobo in there some way, in somewhere where he's like a cameo, or maybe he's like a supporting character that clearly helps move the movie along. But I do wonder if this is still going to be a very Supergirl heavy movie in and of itself.
I think it will be. I don't even think he's going to be the main villain. I think he's just going to be a bounty hunter that she has to overcome, that like an obstacle. I don't think he'll be like the obstacle of the movie. Because I think if anything, they're gonna more want to like save him for his own solo adventure at some point down the road, or to use him later on. So I don't think he'll be a villain that she has to kill or anything like that. I think he'll just be an obstacle. But yeah, I don't expect his screen time to be too short either. I do think we'll get plenty of him. I just don't think he'll be like the main villain.
No, I get you. I am also hearing the Deadpool 2 director David Leitch did make an announcement that he wants to make a Lobo movie with him.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where I can social media post, including one from Leach, who also commented, Lobo solo movie, ? I'm in, Jason Momoa. It's a story we were born to tell. This character is all you. So yeah, he's looking to maybe there is a potential for a Lobo solo film if this really works out. You know, it's just one of the things that fascinates me, Stuart, is the idea that here we are with the DCU. And again, James Gunn hasn't approved this. He hasn't greenlit this. But it almost feels like now we're in a world where if a director or a writer pitches a movie and it's a really good script, who the F knows what movies we're going to get out of the DC studios, right? Like the fact that we got a Clayface movie being done by Mike Flanagan that kind of came out of nowhere. And even James Gunn himself said the script and the idea was so good, I can't believe you're making me make a Clayface movie. The idea that now that we have somebody in Lobo being played by Jason Momoa, and I would assume that especially if it goes over well with audiences, his inclusion in this story, I don't think the idea of a Lobo solo film is out of the question at all if David Leitch and them can really produce a really incredible script. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities at all anymore.
Yeah, no, I think that as long as people like him in Supergirl, and as long as there's a good script, which is, again, the thing that I love about like what James Gunn has been saying, and again, I'll talk so far because he's very new to this, so we'll have to see if he actually, acts on, you know, what he preaches basically. But I do love how he constantly is like trying to tell us that no, I will not green light a script unless like the script itself is like ready to go. We will not start production. And it's to the point where it's like it's a movie that he had no intention of even adding to this first chapter of the DCU slate, and only added it because the script was really good in terms of a Clayface. So I do think that, yeah, as long as Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow does good, as long as people really like Jason Momoa as Lobo, I think there's a good chance we'll get a solo film as long as the script is there. And what's good is that if we do get the solo film, we know that it's not going to happen unless it's a script that people are satisfied with.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we do have a little bit of a tease for you guys here. This is, in fact, Jason Momoa sitting by the fireplace looking at the script.
Yeah.
And I love that he has a cigar in his hand. I love that. I don't know if he was like actually smoking it or if he just had it out because he knew that the fans would want to see it. But I love that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he's born for this freaking role, man. Yeah, I'm really excited to kind of see how he his take on this character. Yeah, cigar. He's got the laugh. He's got the music playing. Like he's already in character. Like homeboy hasn't even put on a suit yet. Probably. Who knows, man? I mean, they literally are getting ready to go ahead and start filming this movie relatively soon. Let me just see. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Film date or filming date January 13th. Yeah, it's set to begin filming January 13th. So we're literally like a just over a week away, man, from this movie being in front of cameras. I'm eager to see set photos at some point in time. I'm hoping that as we get closer, you know what, Stuart? I was gonna make a prediction, but I was going to predict that maybe we get the opportunity to see Millie Alcock as Supergirl in her costume before filming begins. Like if they would release a promo video or a picture of her, but maybe they're going to keep it close to the vest, very similar to how they did with David Corn and Sweat. It was very far into the production when we started actually seeing like set photos and stuff. Do you think DCU will get ahead of the game and reveal something official, or do you think they're okay with the idea of maybe set photos eventually coming out and revealing it like they did with David? Actually, now that I think about it, they did do an official photo for David before set photos, didn't they?
Yeah, it was the one where he was putting his costume on.
That's right.
So I hope we get the first official look before the set photos, only because like every time the set photos come out first, you always have the fans like bitching about how bad it looks. And it's like, that's because you're not looking at it the way it's meant to be looked at, you know? So I hope we get like an official look first and then the set photos afterwards.
So yeah, part of me was going to say maybe next week we get a Supergirl reveal photo, but maybe if they're going to start filming on the 13th, maybe they get like a good week of filming in, and then maybe within the next week or two, we get ourselves an official look at Millie Alcock as Supergirl. That's gonna be my prediction. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, we get ourselves an official look before they. I would assume maybe they would probably film in a very sort of controlled environment, on an actual set location in closed doors before they kind of go outdoors for things, to give themselves as much time as possible before revealing anything. So I say a Supergirl reveal in like 2 to 3 weeks here from Millie Alcock, but we'll see, y'all. We'll see.
Yeah, it's so crazy how we haven't even Superman movie's not out yet, but we're already they're already starting filming on Supergirl. I'm really excited.
Yeah, man, I'm curious to see how this is gonna work itself out, just storyline wise in general. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Jason Momoa as Lobo joins the Supergirl movie Woman of Tomorrow, set to go ahead and begin filming January 13th. What are your thoughts on the casting news? We'd love to hear your thoughts down below. And from one super cousin to the next, Stuart, let's dive into some Superman news here, because I got to tell you, Stuart, the past 2 weeks, if you have been on social media, especially Twitter, has been crazy in regards to information and quote unquote news that has come out in regards to the Superman test screening that has happened. I believe it was the Hollywood Reporter a couple of weeks back that talked about the idea that James Gunn was going to have a screen test for some of his closest friends and people in the business, or at least like people that really mattered to him that could give him honest opinions. And, I'm sure WB heads were certainly there as well. And so we recently had ourselves a test screening. And I got to tell you, man, the first couple of one of the things that first came out didn't sound so great. We'll talk about that. But I do feel like over the past week or so, we've kind of been getting the opposite of things kind of being said. And so it's kind of mixed reviews all over the place. And it's who do you believe? Who do you not believe? And I thought it would be interesting for us to kind of explore just some of the things that are being said about it. And then for us to give sort of our honest opinions in regards to what's being said in regards to Superman. Again, this movie is not set to go ahead and drop until July. So there's still plenty of time for this movie to certainly still is in the process of in post-production, is not complete whatsoever. But two articles I want to go ahead and bring to everybody's attention, Stuart. So let's go ahead and dive into some of this news. And I'm going to be frank with you too, Stuart, before we even dive into this. I was debating if I even wanted to talk about this. For a couple of reasons, but when we started getting sort of the opposite side of the story a little bit, it started making me think like, okay, maybe we'll talk about it a little bit, because I do have my views on this. But let's go ahead and dive into this, because I am very particular about what we talk about around here in regards to like pulling certain stories out, if it's certainly worth discussing. But now that we've got mixed point of views, I definitely wanted to go ahead and dive into this. But the first article is going to be when the news came out. I believe it's Jeff Schneider that wind up revealing this information. But this comes to us from World of Real. Warner Brothers nervous, quote unquote, nervous about Superman after private screening, quote unquote, it's kind of a mess. And it says, all right, so before I tackle this, I'm going to come out and say how Jeff Schneider, who's become a good friend, has rarely let me down with his reporting. He's a well-connected guy in the industry, and he reports what he sees, which can't always be said about many of today's film's journalists. And look, I don't know Jeff Schneider as a person whatsoever, but I will say, when it comes to being on the internet, he does tend to be one of the more sort of reliable sources out there for information. I mean, there are a couple other insider people that have stuff behind paywalls, or you got to subscribe to their Patreon to get information. Like, there's a lot of people out there that I definitely don't trust. But when it comes to Jeff Schneider, I tend to take his words more than just sort of a grain of salt, if you will. He says, with that out of the way, I want to point out towards a THR, the Hollywood Reporter piece from December 6th, that confirmed internal screenings of James Gunn's Superman. It says, we've heard multiple sources that one screening in particular on the lot with close-knit crew of people he trusts. We're keeping the buzz about the movie itself in our own Fortress of Solitude, but we can tell you that the movie will be doing a few additional dates of shooting in Los Angeles. He says, when I first read it, it automatically signaled to me that something odd was happening behind the scenes with Superman. It wasn't the additional shooting mentioned. He says, but rather the fact that the Hollywood Reporter claimed to have spoken with multiple folks who had seen the movie, but refused to divulge anything about its quality. Why is that? Why not just briefly say that that word was good on the film? It says Snyder seems to have given the answer. He's hearing from, quote unquote, rock solid source that Superman, or at least the cut recently shown from Warner's lot, is kind of a mess. That's the truth from someone in the know. And right now, Warner's is starting to get, quote unquote, nervous about the film. He said, I strongly suspect that THR heard the same concerns as Snyder did, but they kept them locked in their fortress. Not just that, Snyder claims that he's heard a lot more about Superman, James Gunn, and DC and keeping it all to himself for now. Of course, this does not mean Superman will turn out to be a bad movie. It's still 7 months away from release. Let's not forget that Guardians of the Galaxy had some pretty bad buzz early, and was believed to be a total dud many months before it hit theaters to become a huge success. Let's not forget Superman Returns and Man of Steel had great early buzz, and we all know how those two movies turned out. So there's still hope for Gunn's Superman, but reporting on a failed screening is something a journalist should do. So he's claiming, he believes, based off of what Jeff Snyder said, that the Hollywood Reporter also heard the same things but decided to not report it. So again, according to what he believes when it comes to Jeff Snyder said his rock solid source said the movie is kind of a mess, and that Warner's is starting to get nervous about the film. Okay. And let me just say this. I guess in some regards, Stuart, like, I guess I'm the Hollywood Reporter too, in that sense of, I saw this article. I didn't want to bring it up on our Facebook page. I didn't post it up anywhere on their Facebook page. And I say that because, and maybe this is the reason why Hollywood Reporter didn't post on it also, is it's very much how I treat first reactions to movies. I don't believe them. And I say that because when you go to a first screening, you come out of something, you're hyped because you got to go to the premiere. You probably saw people on the red carpet, maybe even got the opportunity to shake hands, sort of thing, right? So you're feeling this energy and this buzz, and probably anything you freaking watch is going to be amazing, right? So like, people will come out of first screenings, they'll boast about it, and then you go see the film and you're like, yeah, this movie is not really as good or as bad or as great or as terrible as people say that it is, right? It's just, we are in a very reactionary society these days. And so when it comes to test screenings, especially test screenings 7 months out, it is one of those things where the idea of releasing, I think, how a screen test goes 7 months out when the film itself is not even completed, to me feels like a need to push a narrative instead of giving the movie an opportunity to properly build and put itself together. I don't think it's the idea of like, oh, it's journalistic, like integrity, crumbling around us because a journalist doesn't want to. No, I think sometimes people are mindful for the idea of, especially in the society that we live in today, of putting something out there when you yourself maybe haven't seen it. I haven't seen it for yourself, but are just hearing what other people are certainly saying about it and kind of making a judgment on a film that's not even kind of put together. That's kind of how I view it. And again, I don't know Jeff Snyder as a person. I don't know his personality. I don't know if he holds on to grudges, if he has resentments. But it is also important, Stuart, to point out he did not get invited to the Superman press conference for the trailer. Okay. And I do, if you follow him on Twitter, I do feel that he felt some type of way about it. Now, whether or not he's making this all up, I don't think that's what he's doing. But I do find it interesting, the choice of words that Jeff Snyder is using in here in regards to it's a mess, Warner Brothers is nervous, sort of thing. So I don't know. I don't want to think that Jeff Snyder's that type of person, but it is one of those things. If you didn't get invited to the presser, do you feel some type of way about Warner Brothers and want to kind of push a narrative without saying, well, that's not what I said, yada yada. I am curious. What do you think about this initial thoughts here? And then we'll go on to the next article that says something vastly different. I think you're muted.
Yeah. So I'll say this about Jeff Snyder. So yes, he gets things right a lot of the times. And when he does get things wrong, I don't think it's necessarily because he's making stuff up and trying to just, get clicks. I do think it's that he just happens to hear something from someone. And so he just that and so that thing, just like, whether or not it's because the person telling him this information is lying, or because, executives' minds change like all the time. I do tend to believe him most of the time, or at least believe that he actually believes what he's saying, if that makes sense. So when it comes to this, I do think there might be some legitimacy in the sense that, like, maybe the people there were kind of like not as pleased with the movie as they thought they were going to be. It could be the overhype. It could be because like maybe they've never seen like a rough cut before. Even if this is 100% true, like, there was a private screening amongst people that James Gunn trusted to, not say anything about the movie. And they all thought it was like terrible. I'm still not too worried because, again, it's a rough cut. And like you even mentioned before, you heard the same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy, which ended up being absolutely amazing when it came out. So I think there's still plenty of time to fix whatever kind of problems that this movie may have, if there are actually any, if this is true. So I'm not worried. But I also don't necessarily think he's lying, but I don't necessarily think that this is accurate either. So I think the truth is like somewhere in the middle, as we'll probably discuss when we get into the next part of this article.
Yeah, and let's dive into this article, because I would agree with you. I do think that the truth is somewhere in the middle here. Let me see, where's that article? This one actually comes to us from comicbookmovie.com. Superman, we've heard much more positive things about the recent screening. What? But I just thought it was a mess. And WB was nervous. What is going on here, Stuart? It says, on the heels of the negative buzz about the recent screenings, we've heard that the response was a lot more positive overall. He says, on this week's episode of The Hot Mic, Jeff Schneider and John Roca shared some of the things that they heard about recent screenings of James Gunn, and the buzz was definitely leaning negative. Roca was told that the DCU reboot, where'd it go? God damn it, these freaking ads, bro. Was told that the DCU reboot had a similar tone to Captain America, the First Avenger, and The Mummy, and that the movie was said to be, quote unquote, decent overall. Jeff Snyder's source was not as optimistic, suggesting that there is reason to be worried about the finished film. First off, it's not finished film. It's still in post-production. It's still 7 months out. There's no final cut for this film yet. He says, we've now heard from a well-placed source who has spoken to people who have seen the movie, and the feedback was a lot more positive. Apparently, Superman was described as Guardians on the Galaxy level good. And while some of the VFX shots was unfinished, a lot of the shots were polished enough with 7 months to go before release. Those in attendance shared their opinions, reportedly love the movie, quote unquote. It's worth keeping in mind that both these things can be true. It's highly unlikely that everyone saw Superman at this casting or at the screening felt exactly the same way about it. It's also important to note that plenty of much-loved movies receive negative responses from early screenings and vice versa. At the end of the day, we won't know what to expect until we're sitting in the theaters in July. So, yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy level good. John Roca says some people felt it was like Captain America, the First Avenger, or The Mummy, saying that the movie was decent. Other people say that they loved it. Jeff Schneider's sources say there's reason to be worried here. What do you take away, Stuart?
Somewhere in the middle. Like I do think that probably some people left the screening worried, and I think that worry got over exaggerated, if that makes sense. But I think that the way people are describing it, the way people are comparing it here makes a lot more sense. Given James Gunn's like overall work that he's done in the past, I would find it hard to believe that Superman would be the movie that he would screw up with. So I think I'm more inclined to believe the positive side of the screening, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see. And I think that's the takeaway here from all of this, right? Is look, I'll be honest, man, on our Facebook page, when we have the trailer for Superman up. We already have people using Jeff Schneider's words as ammo in regards to, see, this movie's going to fail. Early testing screenings negative, right? Like, I think it's important as to what you put out there in the world, especially when a movie that has so many eyes on it is still undercooked and not ready to be seen, to put stuff out like that. And maybe some people say, hey, look, as a journalist, you're supposed to. That's what the type of stuff you're supposed to write on. But I guess for me, my thing is, if you're gonna tease something about it being a mess or Warner Brothers is worried, can you go into further clarification? Like what's a mess? The Lois and Clark chemistry? What's a mess? The supporting characters don't work. Like what's a mess about it? Instead of just saying it's a mess. And okay, what's Warner Brothers nervous about? You know, like my thing is, Stuart, it's like when you're 7 months out from this film, mess can mean a whole bunch of things. Like you said, unfinished VFX shots. Maybe it's not completely edited down to where he feels comfortable, where the movie itself is as smooth of a film as he certainly wants it to be, right? Like there's so much work to be done. I can understand. I went to a Hitch screening for Will Smith's is it, no, I'm not Hitch, I'm sorry, Hancock. I went to Will Smith's Hancock early screening, and that movie was a mess because a lot of the VFX, like they literally had the polygons of him as a character flying on a computer generator. Like it was a mess visually at times. There were some scenes that eventually were cut out that I got the opportunity to see in the early screening, right? So mess can mean a whole lot of things, and not necessarily in the sense of, hey, we watched the finished film and it's a mess. No, you watched a film that's still being built together. So the concept of a film being a mess makes absolute sense to me. And then you say the idea of Warner Brothers is nervous about this film. Duh. Like fucking duh. Like who wouldn't be nervous about this, right? Like you've had an opportunity to grow DC for years and you've shit the bed over and over again, and now this is maybe feels like your last hurrah, regardless of what the movie looks like. Hell yeah, I would be nervous, Stuart. Like it that does, like, the words that Snyder decides to use means absolutely nothing to me without context behind it. And I think that's where journalistic integrity comes into play, is if you know this information and you feel as a journalist you should put it out, you should also have context behind it instead of just dropping like trigger words to push a narrative that maybe doesn't exist for some people. And so I just think people need to be more careful about what they say, how they say it, what they present to it, because people will run with it. And then, you know, I look, I don't know if Jeff Snyder's doing this, but if people are running with his words, then he's going to be like, oh, that's not what I said. Well, yeah, that's not exactly what I mean. Then what did you mean, bro? Then why did you say it if that's not what you meant? Because you know how we as a people in society, especially social media, gets with, and how reactionary we tend to be. So could this movie be absolute dog shit? Yes. Can this movie also be Guardians of the Galaxy level good? Can this still be high quality stuff that we've seen from like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or anything else that James Gunn has really like put his fingerprints on? Absolutely. And I'm sorry, but the movies that they mentioned, The Mummy, I love The Mummy. I don't know how that's a decent. I love The Mummy. I love Guardians of the Galaxy 3. The first Avengers, I will admit, was a little bit of a dull event for me. I didn't really care for it at first, but after the MCU started coming together, it is one of those films that I continue to grow appreciation for each time that I certainly watch it. But I know the first Avenger has its fans for sure. A lot of people call me crazy for not liking the first Avenger at times. So you know, you can't name those movies and then tell me this movie is a mess or that Warner Brothers is nervous about it. So I do think that the truth is somewhere in the middle, and everybody's going to have a different perspective on what it is they watch and what it is they kind of come away from. And it's, again, it is important. 7 months out, please take these as a grain of salt. Yeah, I think that's really the takeaway for me, Stuart.
Yeah, I would fully agree with that too. I almost like kind of want to, because you brought up a bunch of good points, and it makes me kind of want to retract a couple of things, like with the Jeff Snyder, like still wanting to say that I think that to an extent what he said is true, but I think that like he's purposely being vague about it because he knows it'll lead to more clicks. So while I don't think he's lying, I don't necessarily think he's telling the full truth.
I get what you mean. Yeah, and that's, like I said, I don't know the guy personally. I've never talked to him. I've never shared any DMs with him. You know, I don't know him on that level. But I do think it's important to understand that in some capacity, everybody has a little bit of an agenda. And whether that be, like you said, for more clicks, for people to go to his Patreon and get more information, to make his presence known in regards to being a scooper more relevant than he already is, does he feel some type of way of not being invited to the test screening or just the press conference for the Superman trailer that dropped? I don't know. I really have no idea. But I just think everybody should take notice in regards to the words that people use. Why are these words being used without full context behind them? Are you trying to push a narrative? Or are you trying to cause a discussion on social media? And if so, for what reason? So, and then when you have people on the opposite side saying, other people saying the complete opposite, it is one of those things where at this point in time, I don't trust any of these sources in this regards. And in the sense of, this is why I didn't want to talk about it originally when it dropped, because there's always two sides to the story. And this is a movie that is 7 months out, or 6 months out now, that is still being together. It is unfair to judge it if it's good or bad this far out before we've even got the opportunity to see a final cut from the film. And so, yeah, the lessons of the story, guys, just take it as a grain of salt. Don't pay it any mind, and you guys be the judge of what this movie is going to be. I mentioned I already had somebody on Facebook say, here you go. This is why this movie's going to be bad. Look, early screenings say negative. I'm like, oh, really? Because I read this, and then I put the other thing, and I'm like,
nice.
This is what I'm talking about. Why do you believe this shit, man? Like, give the movie a chance. Like, just let things play itself out. And he's like, oh, maybe we'll see. Like, yeah, we'll see. So stop. Like, what? It don't make no sense to me, Stuart.
Yeah.
We're so reactionary.
Exactly. I fully agree with that. I think that's the other thing too, is like, even if the test screenings were bad, I think that I think that it could also come down to overhype, like I mentioned earlier. And so therefore, when you go into something really hyped, you may watch something really good, but not being able to appreciate it for what it is upon initial viewing. And so therefore, you kind of leave disappointed. I think that some people went in expecting a masterpiece and then, left that first screening seeing like a, decent, but not fully put together superhero movie, because again, it's not finished yet, still in post-production. So I could see that influencing like their overall take on it. There's just so many factors to where it's like, you don't want to take test screenings too serious. You don't want to look too deep into test screenings.
Yeah, I absolutely don't. Because they usually at test screenings, they'll give you like a survey. They let you ask, what did you like about the movie? What didn't you? What scene would you like to see kind of cut out? What do you like? They allow you to elaborate on it so that the director and the writers can kind of go back and look and see what it is that they certainly need to change about a film, sort of thing. So test screenings really should not be taken seriously, along with first reactions to a film. And it's one of the reasons why I barely try and talk about them or post them anything on our Facebook page about first reactions. Like, if people want to hear a first reaction, that's cool, but I don't put any stake in it whatsoever, and I'd rather just be the personal judge. Marcelino says, I tried to tell you a few weeks ago that I heard Superman movie was kind of a mess. I heard you. I just ignored it. And not to be rude, but it's just like, it's a test screening. Like, I just don't. And then right after you said that to me, boom, now we got positive reaction to this test screening, right? So it's like, who do you want to believe? Do you want to have the pessimistic point of view and just think, oh, I think this movie's gonna be bad? Or do you want to have a more, positive view of the film and think, yeah, this movie's gonna be good? Like, it's just everywhere in the middle. This is why I don't trust any test screening reactions or first reactions to movies. So I think this is a lesson for all of us, honestly.
Definitely.
Blossom says, haven't seen the movie yet, but I would for Crypto. He's one of the dogs I'm not afraid of. Yeah, Crypto is everybody's best friend.
If Superman ends up being a huge success, do you think Crypto will be the next Grogu?
Oh, I mean, is he not already? I mean, who knows, man? Yeah, why not? Why not?
I mean, maybe he is. I don't see him all over the toy. Then
No,
again, I
not
haven't
yet,
gone
not
to a
yet.
Target in a minute, but you know what I mean. Like I haven't, seen him plastered everywhere. But I feel like if Superman is a success, the marketing department is really going to push for crypto plushies and
Oh yeah,
all those kind of things.
give me some pop figures.
Yes.
Who knows? Maybe like just off of how people react to the next couple trailers, if crypto's in it a little bit more. I mean, if anything, maybe they push him more in the marketing or something like that. Who knows? Maybe he's on more posters or on the sides of buses. Big ads. Playing soon. I mean, who certainly knows? Hunter, do you think Jeff Schneider is misleading the people because he was not invited to the test screening of the movie? I think Snyder is using the December 6th bad screening on that day. I don't know if misleading. I don't know, Stuart. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know if it's maybe it's misleading. I don't know. I don't think it's for any petty reasons. I think it's literally just to
I see what you mean.
stir up conversation online. I don't think it's because I wasn't invited. You know what? I hear this movie sucks anyways. I didn't want to go. I don't think that's what it is,
Misleading, but not for not for those reasons.
I think it could just be more of I hear mixed things, not all positive. I could run with that.
I get you. Yeah, it's like I have more information, but one of the articles did say that he's got more information that he wasn't going to reveal as of yet. So, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It could be. It's one of those reasons why I don't. And Jeff Snyder is one of those people that when he usually does drop information, I'm usually paying close attention to. But this one just felt weird to me. It's like, really, bro? This is what you lead with? Okay.
Although I am going to laugh if it turns out that, it is completely based on pettiness. Like it's all because he wasn't invited. That would be, to me, hilarious.
I mean, maybe we'll find out one day. But we'll see how the movie is, man. It's still my number one most anticipated film. That's definitely not going to change. I am no less worried about this film than I was 2 weeks ago. And James Gunn, I trust. Again, I've said this before. He's not the first person that comes to mind when I think of directing a Superman movie whatsoever. But I have really enjoyed the films that he's been able to do when it comes to the world of superheroes. And so if there's anybody that I think can pull this off, it's certainly him. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt to go ahead and cook up a movie and hopefully deliver on it. So we'll see.
Definitely.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to the mixed reviews that we're getting from the screen testing of Superman. We will stick in the realm of DCU to a certain extent. This is kind of going to blend a little bit into the idea of more traditional television in the sense as Bill Skarsgard is in the news this week as he is in fact promoting Welcome to Derry, the upcoming Max original series. It's going to be very much a prequel to the and It Chapter 2 movies that we wind up getting from Andy Muschietti and Warner Brothers a few years back, as we get the opportunity to revisit Derry, and this time really diving into the myth and the lore of Pennywise and the hell that has kind of brought that town. And so Bill Skarsgard is in the news because he's been giving some thoughts in regards to the upcoming series, but he also dabbles a little bit in his future as a potential role that he would love to play. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the Welcome to Derry news first, because I do think it kind of gives us a nice little alley-oop into the very next story that he's involved in here. But this comes to us from comingsoon.net, where it says Bill Skarsgard talks reprising the Pennywise role for Welcome to Derry. He says, it's pretty hardcore, Stuart. So even for a television series, it doesn't sound like they're going to be holding anything back. Skarsgard, who can now be seen playing Count Orlok in Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, which, mind you, I watched this movie. I knew Bill Skarsgard was in this film. I had no idea he was Count Orlok until like the halfway point of this movie. I'm like, where the hell is Bill Skarsgard at? Isn't he supposed to be in this movie? And I'm like, ain't no way he's Count Orlok. But yeah.
So So real quick, just from the scenes that I've seen from Nosferatu, I love like, you know, because he does kind of that same accent that you get from the Nandor from What We Do in the Shadow, but something about the pauses that he has, it just is almost exactly like Nandor from What We Do in the Shadow, just, you know, played more straight instead of the comedic way. But every time I hear him talk, I just keep expecting him to go, Guillermo, you have let me down again.
Yeah, man, he's phenomenal in this role. It does say he'll soon be reprising the role as Pennywise in Welcome to Derry, a new television series premiering in HBO this year. He spoke with Josh Horowitz. Skarsgard said that the forthcoming show will be just as scary, if not scarier, than the It movies. It's pretty hardcore, man, is what he says. When asked if he had any hesitation in returning to play the role of of Pennywise, Skarsgard said, "I felt like I was done with it in a way. It was also because I was shooting this Nosferatu. I was doing Orlok, and to me, it just felt like this is the nail in the coffin on my monster roles." Pun intended. He says, so I did feel as I was kind of over it and I wanted to do different things. Of course, the Pennywise thing as well, I've been quite defined by it. I was like, that's 26-year-old me. I'm not still a young man. Then things changed. Barbara and Andy Muschietti's are doing it. I love them. They're very close friends, family even. I'm the godfather of his son, so I love them. And that was all right. Let's bring him back. Skarsgård said, it was fun. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, actually. There are parts of it where we get to explore sides of old Pennywise that we haven't seen, and that's fun. I remember how much fun I enjoyed working with Andy, and we do have a lot of fun together. I think there's some cool stuff in there that we haven't seen that I'm excited for people to watch and enjoy, hopefully. So I do love the idea that he does explore a little bit more in the sense of them tapping into some things for Pennywise that they haven't necessarily seen, and that he's excited for people to kind of see it. And for me, Stuart, look, I've talked about this before. This even though we haven't done like a most anticipated television series for 2025, Welcome to Derry would easily be up there on my list for sure of television series I'm really excited for. I was a really big fan of It 1 and It Chapter 2. Even though, again, I feel like I have to watch It Chapter 2 a little bit. It felt like maybe it jumped the shark a little bit too much for me. At least I guess maybe based off of what we got in the first one. But that's just me personally. But I have personally always felt like there's so much lore for them to kind of explore. And the idea that they teased a little bit of that in It Chapter 2 made me really excited for them to have Bill Skarsgård back. So I am eager to see him not only do the role of Pennywise once again, but if he comes at it in a different perspective, if he has a different performance a little bit because of the timeliness of it, because of the period piece of when it's certainly being set. So I would agree with him. I do think that there's more on the bones in regards to him coming back to play Pennywise. I don't know if, especially with Andy Muschietti returning, I don't necessarily know how it would feel if anybody else certainly came back as Pennywise, knowing that you have the same writers and directors that were on board with the movie itself. Maybe somewhere down the line, if they ever eventually did another It remake, yeah, cool, get somebody else. But so I am really glad that he brought this back. But I do find it interesting, Stuart, that he brings up the fact that, you know, this isn't the 26-year-old him anymore. You know, when I think of Bill Skarsgård, I think of him more as creatures, as monsters, more than I do of like himself, like on screen, performing as an actual human being in a role sort of thing, right? And so I get the idea that Pennywise sort of defined him, and now it feels like he's almost been typecast in this particular role to be these types of characters. And so I get his sort of unwillingness, especially as he's doing Count Orlok now in Nosferatu, to be very aware of himself as an actor and as a performer, in the sense of, is this the role that I really want to go down? Because I do think at some point it can be very dangerous for an actor to take these types of roles like Bill Skarsgård has certainly taken, and still find himself covered in makeup, playing these monsters, if you will. So I appreciate him having that awareness for himself. But if I'm him, I'm like, yeah, this is the last time you're gonna get me in something like this sort of mentality. So I am curious as to where this leads Bill Skarsgard's career at the end of the day.
I will say though, because this is the route that he went down for so long, did you ever see the movie Barbarian?
Yes, I did. He was in that movie?
He was the guy who was like in the Airbnb when the girl arrived. He was the one renting it out originally, and then that's when they were double booked. And because I'm so used to him always playing like kind of, you know, the scarier kind of villain roles, the entire time I was just like, I don't know about this guy, and I couldn't tell if it was because the guy came off creepy or if it was because he was played by Bill Skarsgård. There were just so many things about the beginning of that movie that I just thought were so brilliantly done. And yeah, I think that, you know, him being there, and especially because of everything we've seen him in beforehand, I actually think that was one of the main things that worked about it. So in a way, the typecasting can help if you're put into another movie where you're kind of expected to play that role, but then you kind of do a little twist on it. So you know, I do agree. You gotta be careful not to do it too much, and that's only what you get cast as. But I also think it could lead to, you know, kind of cool things like that. Yeah, I really loved him as Pennywise. I love the fact that like he loves to scare people by crossing his eyes the way he does in the movies, which you know, he can actually do in real life, and a lot of people thought that was done with computer effects, but it wasn't. So just a really fun trivia bit there. And yeah, I think he would make a fantastic Joker if he ever decided to, or if they decide to cast him in the MCU. You know, I think that, like, I said MCU. I meant to say DCU. You knew what I meant. Yeah. I think he would make for a great Joker. And, you know, we already got Barry Keoghan playing the Joker in the Batman. But, of course, now that we have James Gunn, who has said that he does not mind having two versions of the same character at the same time, I don't think there would be any issue with hiring him to play the Joker for the DC universe. And I think as long as they gave him a very different take on the Joker compared to what we're going to be getting in the Batman, I don't think there's any worry about audience confusion or anything in that realm.
Yeah, and that does lead us into sort of our next topic here, or not next topic, but the other story is that on the same interview, Bill Skarsgård does tease the idea that he's got a really effing cool idea for the Joker. This man would love to be the Joker. And it is, you know, and I'm glad that you pointed that out, the Barbarian role too, because, you know, it's almost to the point now too, Stuart, where like I'm so used to him being the monster in the movie that when I do see him just as himself, I forget that he's even in the film. Like, yeah, I forgot he was in Barbarian. It made me just completely forget that he just had a Crow film, but he was also caked up in makeup in that regards. And then I think he was also in the Castle Rock Stephen King series that was on Hulu, was like the person that was like trapped under the jail or something like that. Like, but he was playing himself, right? I almost forget some of the roles that Bill Skarsgård plays because I'm so used to him being sort of the monster. But you are right in the sense of, because of just his physical features, what we're so used to seeing him in as the creepy person, like he can really translate that really well into just other roles that he's been cast in, to give you that eerie sort of uneasiness, like always suspecting this guy of something sort of mentality. So the idea of him being at something like the Joker is fascinating to me. It is one of those things where, though, I will say, how can you say you don't want to typecast yourself, but then in the same interview be like, yeah, give me the Joker role, I got a really cool idea. Like, bro, you're literally putting yourself in this same situation. But maybe there are some differences here, who knows. But it says he sat down with Josh Horowitz on topics of superheroes came up. Especially many fans still want to see him as the Joker at some point. To the public delight, he also's interested in playing Batman's villain. He says, I think I have a really effing cool Joker in me, probably somewhere. I think that'd be pretty sick, he revealed when asked if he would rather play the villain or Batman. The actor shared that he grew up as a comic book fan and that Batman was his favorite. The interesting part is that even this could even open the door for Andy Muschietti, who is set to be the director for that. He says the filmmaker is now set to direct Brave and the Bold, which has been postponed. He does say when asked about Muschietti being announced for the project, Skarsgard was brief, offering no hints for fans to get hopes up. He says, yeah, I don't know exactly where he is with it, but yeah, so that was cool. He also hinted he's open to playing Bruce Wayne as well, which would fit given his darker role in The Crow. The actor also one of the stars who considered Heath Ledger as their inspiration when it comes to the Joker. He says, I was 17 or whatever, and that Heath performance. And then when he passed away, he says, look, I was an aspiring actor. And to me, he represented everything that I wanted to be. His passing and that performance hit me hard at that time. He says he still remember today as delivering one of the best versions of the character. So yeah, I think he said at one point he would be open to the idea of playing Bruce Wayne, also the Batman, but he clearly believes that he's got a really sick sort of idea for the Joker in him somewhere, and I can believe it. You know, when I think of the Joker, I think of long, lanky, psychotic, and I think Bill Skarsgård really fits that role beautifully. So, you know, I think that's certainly a fan cast for sure. I'm sure there are other opportunities. The Joker's just been so overdone, man. You know, that would be my biggest fear. But I think if anybody can make him fresh, granted, we haven't seen the gentleman from the Batman yet fully, besides just like a sneak peek that we've gotten from him. So, you know, maybe there's a world out there where Bill Skarsgård will play the Joker at some point. I think it's great casting. I do hope that James Gunn pays attention to this sort of thing. But we'll see what happens.
Definitely. I find it funny that both him and Nicholas Hoult wanted to hedge their bets by auditioning both for the main villain and for the main superhero, because you had Nicholas Hoult, who also like auditioned to play Clark Kent as well as Lex Luthor, and then ended up getting Lex Luthor role, and now you have that with Bill Skarsgård. So find that kind of funny as well. It's like, if I can't be the villain, then I want to be the hero. yeah.
Marceline says a lot of people were tired of the Joker and other Batman villains to be used instead. I mean, I get you, Marceline. That's exactly what I just said. Like, they've utilized him so much. I mean, look, he is a pivotal Batman villain. It would almost feel weird if he didn't have a film. Like, if you're planning a Batman trilogy of some sort, it'd be weird if he wasn't in at least one of those. And given the opportunity to certainly other people. I still want a Clayface. I still want a Mr. Freeze again, even though we've had a Mr. Freeze. I'm sure there's other characters that haven't really been utilized too much. We saw a little bit of the Scarecrow in Batman Begins. Whether or not there's another sort of, maybe he can play a Scarecrow in another version of that character in some creepy ass way. But you know, I even if he's not the Joker, I would love to see Bill Skarsgård in a comic book movie as some level of villain or superhero at some point in time. But I totally get the pushback, Marcelino. But I do think, if anything, I think this is kind of another fan casting here. I have heard people say the Bill Skarsgård Joker would really work for them. But yeah.
Even though I'd be really excited for this kind of a role, let me also put it this way: I'm not in a hurry to see the Joker anytime soon. We got plenty of him in the past, and while I feel like we haven't had like a real true comic book version. Not knocking Heath Ledger at all, just because I know like I'm going to piss people off from saying this. I feel like we haven't had a real true Joker since Jack Nicholson's version of the character in live action, that is. So I do eventually want to see like a good comic book adaptation of the Joker on screens sometime soon, but I'm not in a hurry for it, you know?
Yeah, no, I feel you. I'm right there with you too, man. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. What's your excitement level for Welcome to Derry, as Bill Skarsgård talks about not only returning as Pennywise, but the potential of him maybe one day playing the Joker. We'd love to know what you guys would think about that casting decision. Are you as tired of seeing the Joker in the Batman films as other people, or are you open to the idea of there being a Joker in at least every trilogy of the Batman? I would be kind of curious to know what you guys think in the comment section box below. Who knows when we're even getting Batman Part 2, bro, at this point. It's scheduled for 2027, but we'll see.
Let me ask you this though, since we already have kind of the Joker and the Batman played by Barry Keoghan, but we don't really get much of him. Would you rather like see a DCU Joker first, or have Barry Keoghan's Joker get expanded on first?
Give me Barry's first at least. I mean, you've introduced him already. I do like Barry as an actor, especially considering how grounded the Batman tends to be. I kind of like that would be a grounded Joker that I would be really fascinated in. Like, I don't think like I don't consider like David Ayer's Jared Leto as like a grounded one or anything like that.
Mhm.
This feels a lot more grounded to me, and I would be really fascinated to see what Matt Reeves and Barry would be able to kind of come up with from a storyline potential and just like a background story for him, how he got his scars or whatever the case may be. So I would want to see that first. And if I'm James Gunn, um, look, I don't, who knows when we're going to get our Brave and the Bold or if they're going to have multiple Batman movies. But if there is ever a plan for like a Legion of Doom movie or like a trilogy of Batman films, I'm cool with holding off on the DCU Joker to like the last Batman film. Okay. I'm ready for them to. I'm okay with them holding off until like the very last Batman project that they have in mind, or something where he's not the main villain for something. But I would want to see Barry's first.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, let's move on to our next topic as we get more into the realm of movies for you guys. We have a little horror film that's set to go ahead and drop this month for Wolfman. This comes to us from the same director as The Invisible Man. I believe the same writer, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong here. But getting ourselves a new iteration of the classic horror character here, as they try and take a lot of the classic horror elements and characters and make them a little bit more modern. I thought successfully done in Invisible Man, but how do you tackle Wolfman? We'll get to find out here later on this month, but the director is coming out to talk a little bit more about this film and teasing the idea of Stuart, his monster is going to be 100% practical, and we'll see if you're disappointed in the other news that he winds up dropping or how you feel about this. I would really curious to kind of pick your brain, but let's go ahead and dive into this article, Stuart. This comes to us from Total Films website or sub website, gamesradar.com. Wolfman director teases his 100% practical monster as he admits some people won't like it because they love the traditional wolf too much. This is an exclusive here. It says Wolfman director Lai Wanel, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, says that not everyone will like the look of the title beast in the upcoming film, as the effects are 100% practical. He says, I think you have to bring a new approach. He says, maybe there are some people that won't like it because they love the traditional wolf too much, but that was the approach I wanted. The filmmaker also adds that Wolfman is 100% practical, all makeup. There are no CGI elements. It is worth noting that during the 2024 Universal Studios Horror Nights in Orlando, a performer in makeup took to stage for a Wolfman photo op, which led many to believe that this was the official look for the movie. He says things slipped through the cracks and it was like, oh, they're doing this promotion for Wolfman at a theme park, but it doesn't look right. We shouldn't be putting that out in the world because people are going to think that that's what our wolf looks like. My only response is to say, look, that doesn't represent what we're doing. All I can say is wait for the movie to come out. Then hopefully people will be like, oh, I see what they were doing. So if you think you've seen the Wolfman, you haven't. And this is set to go ahead and drop January 17th. So a little bit more than just under 2 weeks away. I do want to see this movie, maybe opening night or at least opening weekend. But Stuart, I know you're a big fan of Wolfman transformations. I don't know your anticipation level for this after the trailers that you've seen. I personally have liked the trailers that I've seen. I felt like the more trailers that I've seen, the better it more appeasing it certainly gets to me. But how do you feel about the idea that this isn't going to be your traditional wolf look, or if that even matters to you? What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess I got to see the look to say for sure. It doesn't have to look like a traditional werewolf or a traditional wolf, for that matter, as long as it looks really cool. I do like that the director is teasing zero CG. I'm curious if that means like zero post production, or by post production I mean like zero, like how do I put it? Like do they, because usually CG can be like a vague term, not just meaning like special effects, like in terms of like computer animation, but could
Like
also
touch
mean,
ups?
yeah, touch ups. So I'm wondering if that's what he means too. Like zero touch ups is all the lighting that we're going to see for the werewolf itself, like going to be natural lighting, or all lighting that's like, you know, done on set without any touch ups in post production. That's what I'm kind of wondering if he means that. But either way, you know, I definitely prefer a costume when it comes to werewolves than, you know, a CG werewolf. You know, give me a costume werewolf anytime. And yeah, as long as the transformation and the overall design looks cool, I don't mind if it looks a lot different from your traditional werewolf. I just want it to, you know, look good on its own. You know, I'll judge it on its own merits rather than trying to compare it to other versions of a werewolf. Unless it's bad, then I may compare it to other versions of a werewolf, because I'll be like, well, you had these cool concepts to work with. Why didn't you take that?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you there. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do love a good werewolf concept. So it would have been cool to kind of like, even though we are in a modern time and you're trying to make this for a classic retelling, if you will, I still think that there's room for there to be a wolf transformation. Like I would, there's a part of me that still would be like, okay, I can kind of believe that for a more modern time. So there's a part of me that would be okay with that, but I'm not opposed to the idea of this being something completely different, especially if the storyline itself really works. Like, what did it get bit by? Is there lore behind this? Will we discover like what initially infected this guy to certainly sort of like make him change, if you will? I think the elements of just a transformation, especially when the moon comes out, I think that in and of itself is good enough for me in the concept of like a Wolfman kind of mentality here. So yeah, I'm open to the idea. I don't necessarily know if I'm not gonna like it, but I mean, if the look looks terrible, then yeah, then I'll probably bust all over this movie in regards to like, bro, you should have just went with the wolf look. So you know, even though he's a little upset that the Orlando Halloween show showcased it, there is a part of me that's like, I hope it's better than that. Like, I really hope it's better than that. But then again, you know, when you get the opportunity to see something with, you know, color grading and lighting and actually on film, it tends to look 10 times better than what like just the concept of the actual makeup looked like. And I do hope as this movie is released, I hope that there is some behind the scenes that's released along with it too, of how this practical effect kind of came about. Because I am a fan of more practical than CGI. So the idea of him saying this is 100% practical, to me, I'm all on board with, because I think this just gives us the opportunity to see just the talent behind the screen in regards to the people that have, you know, the prosthetics work and the makeup work to kind of bring this kind of creature to life. And so for me, that's always fascinating to kind of see. I mean, in some cases, it doesn't necessarily work. In some cases, I can understand the concept of having some sort of CGI elements, but it's also like my same take on, we just talked about it in the honorable mentions, the leader. Like I think the idea of having somebody physically look like that, I think goes a really long way, not only for the actors themselves, but just performances all around of people on set in regards to truly feeling like there's a threat there. And I think once you have that actually practical and all that makeup on, I do think you get some of the better performances in here. So regardless of how good the script is, I do think that acting wise will certainly be helped just because of it being a practical look. But I love them, and I'm sure it's cheaper for them to kind of go that route too, instead of having a bunch of CGI designs, which sometimes can be really hit or miss. And when we work in a when you have VFX studios already these days that are so like overworked and undermanned, you really never know like the quality that you're gonna get. But when it comes to practical, at least you have a little bit more control over that. And so yeah, I'm on board with this. You say 100% practical makeup, I'm there for it. Not necessarily a wolf transformation, but again, I think if the story is there, it'll work for me. It'll work for me.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I tend to only compare to previous adaptations if the current adaptation isn't as good. So, because then I wonder why they bother changing it. You know what I mean?
Somebody was I know we had was it a Benicio del Toro Wolfman film a few years back. My uncle was talking about it. I don't think I ever saw that one, but I definitely want to go ahead and check it out now because he was saying he was a really big fan of that adaptation. So we'll see. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to the upcoming Wolfman movie set to go ahead and drop January 15th. How do you dig the idea of it being practical, despite it maybe not necessarily being your traditional wolf? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And Stuart, last but not least, man, we're going to tackle one more topic. Well, before we do, Frankie says, I'm here for Bill Skarsgard as the Joker, and I am okay waiting for some of the fatigue to die down, but not too long of a wait. He still needs to be in his prime.
Oh yeah.
Like I mean, I don't necessarily know if I need him to be in his prime because I wouldn't mind a little bit of an aged Bill Skarsgard. I mean, I aged in the sense of like with experience, with more experience. I don't know how old is Bill Skarsgard right now. Anyway, is he like? And he's got to be in his like 30s, right? Like 35.
Oh, let's find out. Uh, 34.
34. I wouldn't mind a Joker in his early 40s. Somebody he could still be physical, maybe a little bit older than Batman himself. If maybe just a little bit older than Batman. Once he gets into his like mid 40s, late 50s, maybe, but I wouldn't mind a little wrinkle showing on a Bill Skarsgard a little bit for a Joker rendition. Yeah, maybe in prime as far as like experienced acting even more under his belt, then yeah, but I think it'd be pretty cool, man. But yeah, I would agree with you, Frankie. I wouldn't mind waiting for the fatigue to die down just a little bit and then bring him in as the next Joker for the fantastical side of the DCU.
Yeah.
And Stuart, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about one of your most anticipated movies of the year, man. And that is, in fact, going to be Ballerina, set to go ahead and drop later on this year. Ana de Armas and Ian McShane were in an interview. I can't remember if they were at a convention or whatnot. We'll dive into it, but just gave us a little bit further highlights and things to kind of look forward to when it comes to the upcoming John Wick spinoff in Ballerina. And a couple of the pieces of information they're about to drop, I actually found quite fascinating. And I wanted to kind of pick your brain about real quick. But let's go ahead and dive into this. This one is the first article. Both of them come from Collider, where Ana de Armas explains, look, y'all, she's not John Wick, okay? So let's just get that out of the way.
Could have fooled me. No,
yeah, right. What makes her a ballerina character unique? Let's see here. Yeah, then Ana de Armas makes it clear that her character isn't just another female version of Keanu Reeves' Baba Yaga. In an interview with Collider at CCXP in Brazil earlier this month, she opened up how she approached the action sequences in Ballerina, trying to balance the franchise's established style of bone-crunching action with her character's identity as a newcomer to the franchise. She says, I think there are some trademarks in the style of the fights in John Wick and things that he does that are very particular to him. But because in this movie, we're seeing through the Eve's eyes the background of that training that John had and how these assassins and ballerinas, how these people become these assassins. There are some little details that are the same, but to Eva Macaru is Eve Macaru. She's not John Wick. It talks a little bit about training for Ballerina was tailored to her strengths. She elaborated on how the creative team tailored Eve's fighting style to suit both the character's backstory and her own strengths as an actress. She says, through the training process and rehearsals, we kind of built these fights and tailored them to the things that I would do best. I was really good at kicking. And also because I'm a ballerina, I'm supposed to be good at kicking. I was really good at close fights, like with knives and things like that. For Armas, developing her character's unique style was an evolving process. Little by little, I was trying to get to know myself in this kind of world. And then the stunt team, the professionals, were seeing also the best things that I can do, she added. So we found my own style along the way. I am always fascinated in learning more about characters in regards to their own fighting styles. I will say this, one of the things that when you watch the trailer, you already get to see the elements of some of the things that are very John Wick in the sense of the gun fu, where she pops out clips and stuff and reloads them really quick, right? Like that's just very traditional John Wick, I think. And probably as you're being trained as an assassin and even as a ballerina, those are probably things that like a lot of them certainly learn for themselves. So definitely John Wick-esque inspired, but I am fascinated to see her other fighting technique. The idea of her saying she's really good at kicks. While I'm sure we did see some kicks from John Wick, I feel the idea of her being a ballerina could really allow her to express herself completely differently in regards to how she fights. We've seen some of her rolling around on the mat in some of the training. Like, her kicks could be not only good when it comes to kicking, but also locking her opponents up in like Brazilian jiu-jitsu moves, whether that be triangle holds or choke holds or whatever the case may be with her legs. So I do think there's some elements of grappling that she could probably really do that I'd be fascinated to see if they kind of explore in some really unique sort of fighting style ways, and the elevation of the evolution, I should say, of her kicking to kind of go a little bit with her character a little bit. One of the things that I do worry about is like, I hope that there is an emotional story here for her. They don't really tease what her background is or how she gets where she's at. I'm under the impression that somebody kills her parents or whatever the case may be. So I do hope that it doesn't feel too beat by beat for something like a John Wick, like he lost his wife, then he lost his dog. I hope it's not like, she loses her mom and then she loses her cat. Like I hope it's not, I hope it's something a little bit more in depth in that regards. I mean, to be fair, it seems as though she probably loses them at a really young age. So that alone certainly separates her. But, one of the things that I've also heard like Gal Gadot say and other female actresses that are kind of thrusted into these action roles is that, a lot of these scripts tend to be written with like men in mind, but then they throw a woman into the role. And instead of necessarily taking into account sort of the emotional beats or the differences between men and women and how they might approach certain storyline aspects or fighting sequences and things like that, right? So I do hope that this is very much a story that's about Eve in the sense of her strengths, her weaknesses, her character story, and not so much, hey, this is really just another John Wick movie. We're just going to put a female in there. Like I want to see a vast distinction between both of them. And really, while she really only dives into the fighting style, I need to see more than a distinctive fighting style. I need to see her character arc react to certain things differently than John Wick certainly would. Is there a little bit more fear behind her going into certain circumstances? Because John Wick just felt very much like a machine. Like there was just nothing that would stop this guy. So I do wonder if there is emotional arcs and moments that really separate her a little bit more from the John Wick character.
Yeah. I do like, what they talk about about her having a different fighting style than John Wick, relying a lot on her legs. And I like how it is because it's the strength of the actress, and it also makes sense for her character being a ballerina and everything. So I like that we're going to be getting different types of fight scenes. Definitely not to sound sexist here, but her being a woman, not going to be able to muscle her way out of a lot of situations. Not that John Wick muscled his way out of too many situations either, but there were definitely times where his strength was definitely his ally in that moment. So, we know that we're not going to be seeing quite as much with that with her, or at least I'm assuming not. But I just knowing that we have fight scenes that are directed not only by like the director of this movie, but also the director of the original John Wick, I think we're in for something really, really creative. And nothing but a positive vibe so far from everything I've heard. And I am also really glad that they do try to, say that, yes, it's not John Wick. So like you said, it's not going to be just like, oh, I lost my husband and my cat. It's going to be like, hopefully a very different backstory, her being pulled into this world at a very young age, it sounds like, and going to the ballerina because like no one else could take her or something like that, or because they could help her get revenge on whoever it was that took her family from her. I feel like it's probably going to be like a storyline around those two areas.
Yeah, and I do think too the difference between being trained as an assassin and also the concept of like the ballerina aspect, right? Because I'm under the impression that John Wick didn't go through that aspect of training. Like that felt very much like an all-female kind of school. If I remember from John Wick 2, I don't remember we saw any like male ballerinas in there, if there were all females or not. Maybe I'm wrong though. But it feels like it would be interesting to me to see like how different perhaps maybe some of John Wick's training was to the Eve's character training also. But yeah, from the trailers that I've seen, man, I really cannot wait for this movie. This looks really good. As far as teasing other concepts and stories in this, there is Ian McShane, who's kind of teasing the relationship a little bit between these two characters. This is also from Collider, as he goes on to say, she is the baby Yaga. John Wick's Ian McShane teases his connection to Ana de Armas. Stuart, you were just talking about Crypto being like the new baby Grogu. Maybe we got a baby Yaga coming up here. Maybe they'll give us like baby Funko Pops of Eve from John Wick. We'll see. At the CCXP Brazil earlier this month, when asked about Winston's connection to Eve, McShane revealed a deep history between the two characters. Well, I've met her before. Also, I knew her mother and father, as we say, as he hinted at the shared backstory. He says, I know secrets about her that she will try to find out later on. Obviously, I kept tabs on her over the years since she's been under the ballet tutelage of the character of Angelica Houston. But Winston, we still don't know who he is, which is kind of nice. He's the more enigmatic character. Now, an air of mystery isn't exactly new for John Wick fans at this point, particularly when it comes to Winston, who is an enigma wrapped in a puzzle. And from what McShane says, that won't be any different by the end of the movie, while adding a delightful new nickname. He says, at the end of the movie, I'm not giving anything away. You still don't know more about the relationship. And I can say this. Is that he admires her. I mean, a ballerina and an assassin, that's a lethal combination. He tries to warn her, but of course she ignores him completely. But it'll be interesting. She is the baby Yaga. John Wick is the Baba Yaga. So really teasing that idea of like, she's just as lethal and dangerous. De Armas then added her own perspective, teasing Winston's protective instincts towards Eve that would be evident to audiences throughout the movie. She says, you have a weakness for baby Yaga. And he says, yeah, I have a weakness for baby Yaga. So yeah. What do you think about the tease there, Stuart?
I don't know. I don't, because again, it was a bit too much of a tease that doesn't give too much away. So all I can say is, I am definitely excited to see how this turns out.
I have a theory here that I'm going to go with.
Let me hear it.
I think he's her real father.
Ooh. Ooh, okay.
I think this will be even though he says, "Yeah, I knew your mother and father." I mean, who knows? Maybe it's maybe it's a complicated relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Clearly, he knows more things about her life than he wants to see, and if he has the sentimental value and protectiveness of her, even though he comes across her at a young age, I mean, maybe it's more than just the "Hey, I knew your mother and father." Maybe I am your father. Maybe we get that kind of moment in like a Ballerina 2 or something like that.
All right. I like that actually.
Since we don't really know Winston's background, also it'd be pretty interesting to see the fact that he helped birth a child and put her in secret, maybe because of like the things he was into or something.
I mean, yeah, if you're in a position like his, you don't want to be, you don't want to have anything that could easily compromise you. Because I feel like, yeah, if you're a huge, like, I don't know if crime boss is even the right word, because it feels like that's like a step beneath what he is. You know what I mean? But if you have that much, basically you're that important, basically to this criminal underground like kind of world, it makes sense that you wouldn't want it to be publicly known that you have a kid and that people can use that against you.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's just the theory and speculation that I have about it.
I like it though. It's one of those rare I'm your father twists that I think could actually work.
Yeah. Marceline says there was a male ballerina in John Wick 3, but it was very briefly. We don't even see his face. Okay, all right. So maybe John Wick did have some play in there. But even the idea of Ian McShane saying, the concept of a ballerina and an assassin is quite a lethal combination. So it feels like, not that it's a rarity, but he's clearly impressed with the idea that she has the ability to do both of them. But I don't know, maybe John Wick did have he knew the Angelica Houston character for sure. So maybe there was like some tutelage of her training that he was under as well. I think they have the similar back tattoo, don't they?
I think, did all of them have that or just her?
I don't know. I thought John Wick had a back tattoo also. Maybe I'm tripping.
He had, I think it was a different design though, but he definitely
maybe.
did.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to Ballerina and some of the teases that we just got in here for this film. I'm looking forward to it. This was Stuart's number 5 on your list. I can't remember, but it's definitely on his top 5's most anticipated movies of 2025. Check out the video when you get a chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, that will do it for all of our main topics for the day. And with that out of the way, Stuart, I think you know what time it is.
I do indeed. And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And as we get into your live viewer question portion of the show, let me go ahead and kick on some music for us a little bit here. Give this a chance to load up a little bit. Live usually every Saturday, we will go ahead and drop a live viewer question post for you over on our YouTube channel. All you got to do is just go over to our YouTube channel like so. Click on that community tab, and as you do, look at that live viewer question post, y'all. We got 9 comments today. Let's go ahead and sort these bad boys and dive in, shall we?
Yeah.
Doomsday. Let me know if the volume is too loud or not. I don't know if you guys are all right. Doomsday says, do you feel it's getting really childish how the toxic Snyder Glazers are still finding small reasons to hate James Gunn's Superman, even though we got that beautiful trailer recently? I get that we all have our biases and all that, but nowadays I feel like it's getting really childish.
Man, it's funny because normally I would love to hop on this and be like, yeah, it is, but I've been off Twitter for so long, so like anytime I hear Snyder about Snyder cultists hating on this movie for no good reason, it's one of those things where I'm just gonna have to take your word for it because I myself haven't seen it. All I can say is that, like, yes, I get why Snyder fans are sad that, like, the Snyderverse is over, and I doubt we're ever going to see anything from it again unless they do a multiverse thing like 10 years down the line. But so I get why they're upset about that. But at the same time, it's like, at the very least, you should check out the movie for yourself, make up your own mind before, just jumping on the bandwagon of hating this movie just because it's not directed by Zack Snyder. It's what Zack Snyder himself would want, as we see in many interviews with Zack Snyder, where he talks about how he's looking forward to James Gunn's universe, that's what I find so funny about this whole thing, is that people want to pretend there's this rivalry between James Gunn and Zack Snyder. It's like the two of them are friends. They work together on the remake of Dawn of the Dead. It's like there's no beef between the two of them, and yet everyone on the internet likes to pretend that there is.
Yeah, I never get the idea of like fans of a person being more upset about a situation than the actual person themselves. Like, if the person doesn't care, why do you care so much? Like, just leave it alone. It's really annoying, man. Like, it's one of those things where it's a case of projectionism for them too, where it's like they know that they're Snyder bros. So then anytime anybody like opposes them, they just label them like a gun bro or like a gunverse person. Like, we have like this unlimited faith and like devotion to this one man. And I'm like, no, bro. Like, we like, I love Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. I talk about it highly all the time. I have the capacity in my brain to be able to like and accept both of them. Okay. Like, I'm not glazing over one particular person over the other just because I'm interested in seeing the gun side of things. It's like, no, you are clearly a Snyder bro. Don't label us something that you clearly are because you feel insecure about yourself. It's like, it drives me crazy. And one of the things that I've been seeing two things I've been seeing a ton of stuff of. One, they're already body shaming David Corenswet. Saying
really?
Yeah, saying that the man, based off of what he looks like in his suit compared to Henry Cavill looks in his suit, already sort of body shaming him for it. And can I just say something, Stuart? I looked up some facts about both these men in regards to preparing for Superman. Let me break this down for you. Henry Cavill, homeboy is probably like 6'1", I think. Okay, Henry Cavill came into the role. Was cast at the role at 170 pounds. He put on 30 pounds of muscle. By the time he went to filming for Superman, he was about 200 to 205 pounds. All right. What makes, I think, Henry Cavill look really impressive, though, is that homeboy had like 3 to 4% body fat on him. Like, the man put in the fucking work. Okay. So we're talking Henry Cavill at 6'1", about 200 to 205 pounds. We've seen videos of him working out. We've even seen photos of David Corenswet working out also. David Corenswet, 6'4", was about 190 pounds, Stuart, originally. He put on 40 pounds of muscle. So at his peak, homeboy was about 238 pounds. 238
of muscle.
And by the time he slimmed down and got more fit for filming, he was 228 to 230 pounds. I did the research on this in regards to like his own personal trainer talking about these facts. Okay, so the man is 6'4" and anywhere between 228 and 230. I mean, the guy, look, I love Henry Cavill, but that like feels like he dwarfs this guy. And look, I'm not trying to disrespect Henry Cavill in any way. The point I'm trying to make is both these men put in the work to be Superman and put in the physique. Just because a suit isn't as flattering as the other one doesn't mean the other person isn't more well prepared to be a Superman than the other. Henry Cavill and Corenswet came in prepared. And it's not my fault. Corenswet's a huge guy. Okay, I don't know what to tell you. So we'll see what it looks like in the final product. But then I've also been seeing Snyder Bros do this weird comparison of like taking shots from Man of Steel and comparing it to the trailer shots. Like there's a shot of Superman and Lois hugging each other in the air, and they're like, oh look, he's just copying Man of Steel. And then there's another shot of Superman saving Lois, and then the shot of David Cornsweet saving the child. He's like, it's just a copy, bro. It's shot for shot. And then they do this thing where they have the shot of the creature that Jor-El was writing in the beginning of Man of Steel. And then they're like, oh look, there's a monster in this movie also, and they have the shot of the dragon breathing the fire and stuff, and like, it's an exact copy, bro. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, did Zack Snyder invent Superman for y'all? Was that the ever first Superman movie that you guys have ever fucking seen in your life? I was like, because I can literally rip those same sequences from Superman Returns, from Superman. Like, it's just, what are we talking about here? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. And like, they're like, oh, he's bleeding in the, I'm like, bro, your Superman literally died in the second movie that he was in. All right, he literally died. Like, what are we talking about? It's just the concept of idolizing somebody, and this worshipness that these Snyder Bros have, that they just cannot have the capacity to understand that people have different visions for the same character. There's no copy and paste here. Yes, are there similar scenes? We've seen them in, they're like classic Superman scenes. Everybody does it. It blows my mind, bro. Like, it literally, blows my mind.
So I hear that David Cornsweet Superman flies, and I just want to say, man, that feels like James Gunn is just stealing from Zack Snyder. I mean, that's not cool.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because like the only thing this movie does that I see in Man of Steel is the slow-mo shots. And I'm sorry, you can't do a modern Superman adaptation without slow-mo shots, because Superman, one of his many known powers is super speed. And if you're gonna get a Superman that we as the audience are going to get a perspective on, where we have to feel like we're in his shoes, at least for even a brief moment, if he's the main character, we at some point as an audience need to feel like we're in his shoes, and it's really hard to do that without doing slow motion shots. So yeah, that's the only thing kind of unique in both of those. And even then, Superman and Lois also does those slow motion shots. And in fact, like, I would say that those became popular from Smallville, so while they look similar, I think it's only similar because tech like improves over time, and that's why Zack Snyder and James Gunn just happen to be using similar techniques for their slow-mo shots. It's not because James Gunn is ripping off Zack Snyder. It's just because they're both using the better modern techniques for slow motion compared to, Smallville. And then Superman and Lois with its, kind of not as high of a budget as you would get in those kind of movies.
Shout out to Frankie. He says, you'd be hard pressed to find any iteration of Superman where those scenes, saving someone, kissing and flying with Lois, does not exist. Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, people have clearly never seen another Superman movie before, or they have, and they're being blissfully ignorant in regards to this.
I think blissful ignorance is exactly what's going on.
Yeah. Kevin, what's up, Kevin? He says, people will go see Superman at the theaters. Will it make a profit? That's questionable. I think the popularity alone of Superman will make it profitable. Man of Steel, I think, made like 600 million or something, a little bit over that. That movie was certainly profitable for sure, but I think Warner Brothers had a much higher expectation for what that movie should have made. I think they were under impression that it should have made like Avengers type of level money of like $1 billion. And I do think it's unfair to have those level of expectations in regards to like the first movie of your cinematic universe to crush $1 billion for anybody. So I think if Man of Steel can certainly make its profit and be a profitable film, I do think James Gunn's Superman can do so also. And I think if you look at his track record with the exception, I think, of the Suicide Squad, because I do think Suicide Squad got shafted in the sense of its release mentality as far as box office, theatrical release, and straight to Max as far as streaming services go. I think if you look at James Gunn's box office, I don't know if he's made, at least his Guardians of the Galaxy movie stuff, I don't know if he's made a movie that has gained less than like $700 million. I could be wrong in that. You might have to certainly look that up. So do I think this movie is going to be profitable? Absolutely. Whether or not it's because of James Gunn or if it's because it's a Superman movie, people will come out to see it. So I have no questions that this movie will not be profitable. And I think people can try as hard as they want to have a very negative narrative about this movie going in, when this film is literally, for some people, their most anticipated film of 2025, whether people want to accept that or not. I think butts are going to be in seats regardless, because of who Superman in and of itself certainly is, regardless of who's directing him.
Definitely.
What else we got here? If Power Rangers had their own Strongest Battle miniseries like Super Sentai, which 5 Rangers do you think would make up the oddball team? Oh my god.
So I saw this question ahead, so I actually got prepared for an answer.
Oh, nice.
Whenever it comes to mix and mashing Power Ranger characters, I always try to go for one from every era. So this is what I got. So I got TJ, and I would want him as the Turbo Red Ranger, give him back that red suit for sure, to have him kind of lead this team. And then for the Pink Ranger, I know technically they're the same era, but people also will say it's Zordon and then post Zordon era, or two different things. So I'm going to go with Jen from Time Force as the Pink Ranger. And then going to the Disney era, I'm going to go with, because we got to have our comedic relief. So let's go with some Ziggy from Power Rangers RPM. And then, we got to go to the Saban era. And of course, I got to go with my favorite season from the Saban era, or, the only good season from the Saban era, which is, of course, Dino Charge. And from Dino Charge, let's throw in a caveman. Let's have Coda, the Blue Ranger from Dino Charge, in there as well. And then finally, last but not least, we had to figure out something from the Hasbro era. And I was thinking either, Beast Morphers or Cosmic Fury. But I realized, most of the colors are already taken from those, but we do have an open spot for a yellow. So I thought, once and always, let's go with Min Kwan from Power Rangers Once and Always as the yellow Mighty Morphin Ranger.
I like it, Stuart. I don't know if I would change any of that. I mean, I think if I were to change one thing, how many did you pick? 5?
Yeah, 5.
You did 5. Pink is just because you picked Jen. I'd probably choose Cassie from In Space.
Oh, nice.
She would be my replacement for Pink. But other than that, man, did you have a Black Ranger in there? What were your color schemes? What was your color scheme?
So TJ is red, Jen is pink. What was it? Ziggy is green, and then Coda is blue, and then Quan as yellow.
Yeah, I like it, man. I like it. If I were to just add a 6th Ranger, because when I think of green, I tend to think of him as a 6th Ranger. But if I were to add Ziggy would technically be my because I do want to keep Ziggy as green. I do love that choice. God damn it, what is his name here? Hold on one second. I'm blanking on his name, but I absolutely love him. Oh, for a Black Ranger, give me Jake from Megaforce.
Cool.
I put Jake in there too. I would love to see Jake and Iggy collab with each other for sure. Let's see here. What else we got? What are your thoughts on the controversy surrounding Shamik Moore? I've heard little about it. Besides the only thing that I've heard about it is, well, didn't he? I heard Haley Steinfeld announce her engagement. I thought he made a comment or something like that. I think there might be something else too. Like, I think that led to like a huge him going down like a rabbit hole of I think he might have commented on somebody else or revealed something about somebody else, another woman, and the woman had told him to stop posting something because it made her uncomfortable, and then he had to like make another apology or some shit to clarify what he was doing. I don't remember, but it was like another co-star of his. And it feels like Shamik Moore is falling in love with all his co-stars in some capacity here, and is feeling some type of way about them either being taken or being in relationships or something. I don't know. I could be completely butchering the concept of it, but just stop talking, Shamik. Just stop talking.
I gotta look. I guess I'd have to look into it more because the only no pun intended. But because the only thing I heard is that Haley Steinfeld posted an engagement tweet. And then just coincidentally, he posted a tweet that, you know, if you were to, that people were saying was a comment to her tweet, but that wasn't the case. It just happened to be posted around the same day. So I didn't think it had anything to do with it, like the internet was trying to convince us. But then I hear there were more things, and that's what I have not looked into. The only thing I heard about was that one tweet, which I basically think was taking way out of context. But okay, cool. So there's more here.
Yeah, I knew there was another incident. He says basically Laura Harrier asked him to take down a photo of the two of them because she was engaged and he refused. It's just a weird way to move, bro. Like, it's just a weird way to move.
Yeah.
You know. Because I think him posting the photo probably came like on the tail end of the Haley Steinfeld thing, so it already had like this air of just this weirdness and creepiness about it already. And if somebody asks you to do something, bro, like just do it, especially if it's another woman and she's engaged, and if she tells you it makes her feel uncomfortable, like please just. I don't get the pushback from men in that regards. Like if she asks you to do something, bro, just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just stay off the internet, Shamik. Stay off the internet, bro. Because I know when they don't cast him for Miles Morales, he's gonna feel some type of way. I just know it.
Oh yeah.
I know it.
I mean, how old is he at this point?
Too old to play Miles Morales.
Yeah, 29. Yeah, unless they're going with like kind of an older like Miles Morales. Yeah, if they want to go high school route, I think he's past that.
I mean, who knows? Maybe I don't know how old he is in the video game. Do you know how old Miles is in the video game? Is he still the same age?
I want to say he's like early college years because he's definitely not in high school anymore. I'm not sure actually.
Marcelino, are you fans of the Ink Tank channel? It's a Ben 10 YouTube channel where they are currently breaking every Ben 10 episode. They're currently halfway done with Omniverse. Other activities they do involve making their own webcomic. That's a crossover between Ben 10 and Danny Phantom, drawing videos. And they're breaking down all the original plans Dwayne McDuffie had for the franchise.
I had heard of that webcomic series. Haven't read it myself yet, but no, I haven't checked out the channel. I don't even remember how I found out about the Ben 10 Danny Phantom comic book series, but I remember hearing about that and thinking, that actually makes sense.
He also says Eric Wallace said that he wanted to do a Blackest Night adaptation if the Flash got 10 seasons, but at the same time, he also wanted Keone to be a 2-season long story arc. He hasn't confirmed this next thing. This is all just speculation, but many fans are starting to theorize Keone, if I'm pronouncing that right, would have been the counterpart to Necron, the source of all death, since Keone was hinted to be the life force. So a lot of fans are glad the Flash ended at season 9 because it would have ruined the Blackest Night adaptation.
I don't know how he would have adapted it because there's no way Warner Brothers would have let him use Green Lantern in any way, shape, or form. Because when they tried to, they were barely able to show a green light, and they still were never even allowed to refer to it as the Ring. And then undoubtedly he tried to gaslight the whole situation, like, well, I never said I was going to do a Blackest Night storyline. The fans said I was going to do that, like he did with Diggle being like, well, I never wanted to be the Green Lantern, the fans wanted me to be the Green Lantern, and you gaslighted me into thinking I wanted it. It's just I just wish they just let that storyline alone. Just end it where he picks up the box and then just like maybe offhandedly mentions it every now and then. But like, if you're not gonna do a Green Lantern, don't just like do what they did. It was just some of the worst writing, I think, in the series.
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe there's a way to adapt it, but when I think Blackest Night, I automatically think Green Lantern. So if there was no opportunity to do a Green Lantern, please don't try to adapt Blackest Night.
Exactly.
At all. I felt a little too. I mean, I appreciate his love for the storyline, but yeah. Here's something I noticed. When Flash was ending, there were a lot of people ranking Arrowverse shows. Keep in mind that this only consisted of Arrow, Flash, Legends, Supergirl, Black Lightning, and Batwoman. And what I noticed was that Black Lightning was ranked number 5, aka the second worst show, being placed above Batwoman but under Legends, while Arrow and the Flash were the top 2. And when Superman and Lois ended, people started updating their ranking videos by including all the DC shows, which now includes Superman and Lois, Stargirl, Naomi, Smallville, and Gotham Knights, making it now a top 11, as Black Lightning was placed as number 8, making it better than Batwoman, Gotham Knights, and Naomi, while everything else is above. I wanted to know why people rank Black Lightning so low and why they didn't see it as one of the better DC shows. So I asked several people they thought that, and here's what they said. They say that season 1 was the only good season, with 2 being bad and boring. 3 started strong but ended weak, and 4 was just terribly written. They also say that even when it was good, the quality never reached the levels of Arrow and Flash. Another reason is that at times it felt like a drama show with no relation to DC Comics, and studio last minute slapped on Black Lightning. When compared to Arrow and Flash, those shows often balance drama and comic book nature by having nearly every episode have a couple of fight scenes, whereas Black Lightning just had people standing around and talking and having 1 fight per episode. Not enough comic book elements. Also, a lot of people hated Tobias Whale. What? It's the same problem they had with Stormfront and White Dragon from Peacemaker, which is white supremacists and superhero projects are always written terribly, feeling like cartoon characters. So you've got a chance to take the... So if you got a chance to talk to the people, what would you say? And what were your thoughts on this?
Okay, I'm very confused by the Tobias Whale thing, because yes, he was kind of racist towards black people, but he was also pretty racist towards kind of everyone.
Everybody.
I'm not, because I feel like there were times he basically had something to say about every ethnicity at some point or another in the show. So he just seemed like he hated everyone. So I don't know about that last thing. I thought Tobias Whale was a great villain because I hated him so much. I think what's his name? Odell, right? The really old guy who was in charge of the
what an asshole.
I think he was I think I hated him a little bit more than Tobias.
Oh my god.
But I think that just shows like the writing was great, because I genuinely hated the villains in Black Lightning.
They were like soulless, bro. Like they're just atrocious human beings, man.
Yeah, it wasn't until Gravedigger where it's like, okay, finally like a villain who you see where he's coming from. He's still a bad guy, don't get me wrong, but it's like, okay, cool, at least like there's like you see where this villain is coming from in terms of like, yes, he got dealt a really shitty hand at life. Okay, I can see why he's pissed off. But yeah, no, I the only one I kind of the like kind of things I agree with is that season 4 was not very well written at times. I didn't mind it though, because I thought like the great performances really kept the show. So even when the writing wasn't on top, I still was kind of into it because of the good performances that we got. And I do think that we overall, while very convoluted with the whole Jen stuff, I think that like the way they kind of wrote that was really bad at the end. I do think it was a very satisfying finale though, the way it wrapped everything up. And yeah, I don't know. It's like I can get where people are coming from in terms of the family drama aspect, but I would also say that I didn't think the family drama was ever like bad in Black Lightning. I think while I kind of preferred it in Superman and Lois, I think they did a little better. I also thought it was done pretty well in Black Lightning as well. The only times I thought it wasn't at its best is that there would be times where I would notice that like there would be some arguments amongst Jefferson and what was the wife's name again? I totally forgot.
I'm blanking on her name too right now.
and I feel like they wouldn't get resolved, but then they wouldn't come up in the next episode. You know, it'd almost be like the fight never happened. And so those would be the moments where I think the writing was bad, but they didn't happen often. So yeah, for me, I would definitely personally rank Black Lightning above Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow. Not quite up to par with the Flash and Arrow, but that's only because like Arrow and the Flash at their peak is like amazing, whereas Black Lightning at its peak was really, really good. But unlike Flash and Arrow, one thing I got to give Black Lightning is I feel like it never really dipped in quality. Even during season 4, which was this more season, I feel like it was a small dip and it wasn't like a dive. You know what I mean? Whereas like Arrow season 4 was definitely a dip, and then Arrow season 4 was a dive downhill of how bad it was compared to the previous seasons.
You know, I'm going to be honest. I'm so glad that you said you found it better than Supergirl. Because I was literally about to say that too, and I was like, "Is that too bold of a take for me to say?" But the fact that you threw that out there, I really appreciate that, Stuart. Because I felt that same way too, in regards to quality. You know, I am a little bit biased with Legends of Tomorrow just because of the fact that I didn't care for the narrative shift and the tone and stuff that it adapted. So, and I never got a chance to really follow that on a weekly basis. So I would have put it above Legends of Tomorrow, but the fact that you put it above Legends for yourself too, that surprised me. But the Supergirl one, I think, was a hot take that I had, but I wasn't sure if you were going to say that or not. So I probably would have bumped. I would agree with you. I probably would have bumped it above Legends and Supergirl also on the list for me personally, but that's just me personally. I don't have a problem, I don't have a problem with people putting it behind that, just because of the fact that I know Legends of Tomorrow has its fan base, and Supergirl went on for so many damn seasons. You know, I'm sure there's a really big fan base there as well. But I don't agree with the quality of the shows. I would agree that when it comes to season 4, it was probably their weakest season for me. But you know, one of the things that I always loved about Black Lightning, that I don't think Black Lightning ever tried to pretend to be something that it wasn't. You know, I think from the original get-go, it was sort of perceived as a family drama, that there were going to be family dynamics involved, especially when you've got teenagers, husbands, wives. You know, there's a societal sort of message for Black Americans that I think Black Lightning was also trying to speak to as well. And I think that's when you have characters like Dick Jefferson being a Black high school teacher and having these really great messages and stuff. I think there are just some messages that maybe hit groups of people a little bit differently, but it's one of those things that Black Lightning never shied away from what it wanted to be, and that at the core of it was more family drama than superhero. I've never been under the impression that it was just a family drama and they plastered Black Lightning into it and said, here's a superhero film, superhero show. I feel like you could probably say that was something like Naomi if you wanted to, but like Black Lightning, I think literally the first episode focuses on the origin story of him having abilities and powers and stuff, and how it sort of ruined his marriage and his life, sort of thing, and you know, his devotion to of being a superhero, but you know, his relationship and marriage life, mattered more to him, so he took a back step to having a family, sort of thing. Like, I always felt the superhero aspect was ingrained in it, but first and foremost, I always personally found it as a family drama, and I think that's what really separated it from me from the other CW shows that we wind up having. I mean, yes, is Black Lightning a comic book? Absolutely. But, you know, the idea of being able to adapt a comic book into something different and still make it work, for me at least, on something like the CW, when you already have all these other comic book-esque shows, I think shows its ability to be able to change and be diverse in regards to how its vision of what it certainly wants to be. And for me, that really helped bolster it a little bit more. So he said, I think people wanted more comic book feeling and more comic villains, not just using gangs like the Flash. And I get that. But my pushback would be like, if that's what you want, you got the Flash, you got Arrow, you got Supergirl. Like, I don't need all of my shows to feel the very same way. And I appreciated Black Lightning for being something completely different than what it was. And that's really what worked for me, for sure. Let's see here. Peg C, damn it, it's not letting me I'll get to this first question, and while we answer this question, I'll see if I can pull this back up. Have you seen this rare behind-the-scenes test photo of Tommy the Green Ranger in what was to be Tor the Shuttle Zord cockpit? There was only early consideration to possibly make there was early consideration to make Tor the Shuttle Zord the Green Ranger's Thunder Zord before the idea was abandoned. I tried to click on the link, but it says this page isn't available. So maybe they took it down. But I hadn't heard about that. Stuart, have you?
No, I hadn't. This must be like a really recent thing.
Yeah, I wonder when that when they thought about that, because I hadn't heard about that before. See if you can get the rest of Peg C's conversation, Stuart.
Yeah. All I see is the one on my end too. Hang on, let me try resetting it. Huh.
He did email it to me. Let me here's the other question. Oh, you know what? Here, he did actually send the photo itself. Also, his second question: what are your thoughts on Hasbro wanting to release Power Rangers on other streaming services like Roku, Pluto TV, Samsung TV, and Tubi?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, now that all the Saban all the Saban era seasons and all the Disney era seasons are on Tubi. Yeah, I love that. I think it's way better than just putting them all on YouTube.
Yeah, I agree. Marcin says, so is that what you would say to people who didn't like Black Lightning? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, to each their flavor. I mean, I'm not trying to change their mind. I mean, if they feel that type of way, that's fine. But, you know, my thing would just be like, yeah, I mean, I get it. But there's also another perspective, and that would just be my perspective about it. Let me see if I can upload this photo that he posted. Oh, interesting.
Okay.
I mean, I get what, because he's green and the Tor was green, so they're like, hey, Green Ranger.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. Let me pull this back up here. And then he also says, do you think VR Troopers should get another chance at have a TV series? Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I've been asking for VR Troopers. Like, it just feels like the most appropriate time to do so. Like, come on, guys. We're in the VR era right now. If you're going to do it, pull the trigger.
Yeah, I feel like it could be done a lot better now than it could have back then, especially if it's given like its own budget and it doesn't have to rely on stock footage.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's see here. AJ, man, man, we gotta cut back on these paragraphs, man. The morphing grid, the very essence of Power Rangers power destabilizes. Hold on, the legacy of the grid, a Gokaiger adaptation. Okay, so this is how he would probably adapt it. The morphing grid, the very essence of power, Ranger power, destabilizes, scattering Ranger keys across the globe. This catastrophic event strips all existing Rangers of their abilities, leaving Earth defenseless. However, fate intervenes. 5 troubled teenagers with diverse backgrounds are chosen to become the new guardians of Earth. He's got I don't know. Oh, one from Hong Kong, one from Sydney, one from Hong Kong, another one from Hong Kong, Buenos Aires, Angel Grove, California. Orion, the Silver Ranger from planet Adressia, arrives on Earth with the premonition of the grid's collapse. Haunted by the destruction of his homeworld by unknown alien forces, Orion seeks to prevent the similar fate of Earth. To recruit the new Rangers, he dispatches 5 unique Ranger keys to different locations on Earth. These keys, imbued with powerful energies, resonate with their chosen individuals. Pirate Rangers. Okay. Upon receiving the keys, each teenager experiences a vision, a fleeting glimpse of all past Rangers associated with the key color. This vision serves as a precursor to the newfound abilities, though the sheer power of their ancient forces initially overwhelms them. When they attempt to morph, they can only maintain the transformation for brief periods. The immense power draining their life force. Orion, a seasoned veteran with years of experience as Rangers, guides the inexperienced teens. His unique cellular morpher allows him to access the powers of 6 past Rangers, seamlessly transitioning between forms. Okay. He possesses no such limitations. His mastery over these ancient energies unparalleled. Orion provides the Rangers with their primary Zords, a powerful galleon ship, and the accompanying vessels, forming the Pirate Command Megazord. He also equips them with secondary Megazord, the Pirate Strike Ultrazord, and a 6 Ranger combination, the Pirate X Megazord. The Pirate Rangers, true to their name, initially struggle with teamwork and discipline. The rebellious spirits and personal conflicts often hinder their missions. Matthew, burdened by his father's expectations, chafes against authority, idolized by his brother. Brandon, grappling the abandonment issue, struggles to trust his teammates. Zion, overshadowed by his older brother Matthew, lacks self-confidence. Also, his brother's on the team. Okay. Jessica, accustomed to privilege, clashes with Alexandra's leadership style. Alexandra, driven by ambition, finds it difficult to relinquish control. I kind of dig that. Despite their initial shortcomings, the Rangers embark on global adventure to collect the scattered Ranger keys. Each key holds the power of past Rangers, granting them access to the vast arsenal of abilities. However, these powers are unpredictable and often uncontrollable, leading to unintended consequences and near-fatal situations. Any thoughts? Like, what did you wish was completely different from Gokaiger, or any elements that were similar? I kind of dig the sibling situation there. I kind of dig that.
Yeah, I dig the sibling relationship. I also dig the questioning himself on whether or not to really be able to, like, not only trust, sorry, I gotta reread that just to make sure I'm making sure I got it right. Wait, what was it? Self-confidence. Yeah, okay, cool. That's what it was. So it was like his lack of self-confidence. Yeah, I really like that. And then also because I feel like that's something that Saban was always afraid to do, is having like a Red Ranger or a leader who basically wasn't like kind of a total perfect, ready to go from the start type of thing. Also, yeah, I do like that there seems just to be a lot more depth with these characters compared to what we got within Megaforce, where everyone was kind of like two-dimensional,
Yeah, I was just gonna say I do like the motives and for each of the characters in here, and the character traits. The most talented man in the world, Chloe Bennett's return as Daisy Johnson, a limited series proposal, if only. Limited series reintroduces Chloe as Daisy, aka Quake, in the MCU, presenting a thrilling opportunity to explore the character's evolution and seamlessly integrate her into a large cinematic universe. This 10-episode event would delve into Daisy's life after the events of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This would probably be cut down to like 6 episodes, just so you know, showcasing her growth as a leader and grappling with the complexities of operating outside the established power structure. This series can begin with Daisy living a relatively quiet life, perhaps working with a small independent team of like-minded individuals. This team, mirroring the spirit of the original S.H.I.E.L.D., would focus on helping those marginalized by large organizations, battling local threats and uncovering hidden injustices. Episodes 1 through 5 would establish a new status quo, showcasing Daisy honing combat skills, her leadership abilities, and her unwavering commitment to protecting the innocent. However, a series of escalating events would gradually pull her back into the larger MCU. A mysterious new threat, perhaps connected to the overall unseen faction or resurgence of an old enemy, would begin targeting her team, forcing Daisy to confront the limitations of her current resources. 6 through 8 would see Daisy reluctantly reach out to old allies, perhaps seeking information or assistance from figures like Nick Fury or Valentina. These interactions would serve to bridge the gap of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the current MCU, acknowledging the events of the series while subtly establishing a new level of canonicity. The series would culminate in a shocking revolution. A new threat is not what it seems, though meticulous investigation and a series of daring missions, Daisy and her team would uncover a conspiracy with far-reaching implications, potentially involving a powerful entity manipulating events from the shadows. In a penultimate episode, Daisy would face a seemingly unsurmountable obstacle, perhaps a devastating loss, a betrayal that shatters her trust. The setback would force her to confront her deepest fears. The series would conclude with a dramatic climax where Daisy, drawing upon her past experiences and newfound strength, would overcome the threat and uncover the mastermind behind it all. The twist: the mastermind would be revealed to be a familiar face from the MCU, a character who has been subtly manipulating events through the series, their actions driven by a hidden agenda. This limited series would not only offer a compelling story with Chloe Bennett, beloved character, but also enrich the MCU, introducing new elements and exploring existing storylines. I mean, I feel like those are hitting a lot of beats that you would probably have in just a story in general. Like, I've always wanted to see Daisy certainly come back in the MCU, and I guess I never understood why they never pulled the trigger on it, Stuart. I mean, I feel like especially where we're at now, where there's like no Shield, it feels like I feel like she would be like the perfect person, I think, to bring it back to life in some sense. I think in the comic book she's I don't know if she's been the head of Shield before or not. But I would love the idea of her coming back to be like the new head of Shield, or putting this organization together behind the scenes, and having it revealed that like Shield is in fact back in a new way. Because is there Shield? Is Shield even around anymore?
I don't know. I think it's just Sword now.
Right. I think that's all it's been. So I wouldn't mind Shield coming back with her at the forefront. Jessica Friedman. Do you think the rumored Spider-Woman movie will come out? And with Paramount getting the rights to Power Rangers, do you think we get a sequel to Once and Always, or maybe an all American made Power Rangers like Cosmic Fury?
I see the second one happening. I don't see them doing a sequel to a Netflix special anytime soon, but I could be wrong about that. But yeah, I do see an all American made Power Rangers coming sometime soon. I still would love a sequel to Once and Always. I don't see it happening though, but I would like to see Charlie Kirsch as Min come back in some capacity. I will be curious to see how Paramount handles Power Rangers. I am hearing it's supposed to be like a full-on reboot, but I don't know how open they are to keeping any sort of continuity to it. So I mean, if they win an all-American made Power Rangers like Cosmic Fury, I would be down. Just maybe better suits. As far as I think the rumored Spider-Woman movie will still come out, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. But I don't know. They had talks of what, like Spider-Woman, or some people were thinking maybe it's like Spider-Gwen or something like that. I mean maybe. What do you think, Stuart? I don't think I'm expecting anything Spider-Man related from Sony, except for Spider-Man for a while, because of just how the other films have just not been doing really good at the box office. So yeah, I don't expect it anytime soon.
Yeah. My friend calls me Joseph. What's up, Joseph? Home Alone again. A modern Home Alone could capture the magic of the original while honoring the memory of John Hurd, the beloved actor who portrayed Kevin's father, Peter McAllister. The film could center around Kevin McAllister, now a grown man with a family of his own. He's a successful architect, but still carries a mischievous spirit in his youth. His children, however, are a far cry from the precocious Kevin. They're glued to their screens, lacking the resourcefulness and resilience of their father. The film would subtly honor John Hurd by incorporating subtle reminders of Peter McAllister, perhaps a framed photo, a cherished Christmas ornament passed down from Peter's adorning the tree, or a favorite tool used in home improvement projects is lovingly displayed. These small touches would serve as a poignant reminder of the father figure who shaped Kevin. The villains could be modern-day twists on the wet bandits. Instead of bungling bandits, they are tech-savvy cybercrime ring targeting wealthy families. They utilize sophisticated hacking techniques to gain access to smart home systems, manipulating the security cameras and even control household appliances in their nefarious purposes. The story would revolve around Kevin's children, initially helpless against the cyber criminals, but as the situation escalates, Kevin must rediscover his inner Kevin McAllister. He would leverage his architectural knowledge, utilizing hidden passages, clever traps, and ingenious contraptions to outsmart the criminals. A key element in the film would be the gradual realization of Kevin's children are capable of more than they initially believe. Guided by their father's unconventional methods, and inspired by his legendary past, they begin to contribute their own unique skills. The youngest might excel at deciphering cryptic online clues, while the eldest discovers a hidden talent for quick thinking and problem solving. Climax would involve a thrilling chase through the smart home, with Kevin and his children utilizing the very technology the criminals sought to exploit against them. The final confrontation would involve a dramatic showdown, culminating in a comical and chaotic reversal of fortunes for the villains. And to add a heartwarming twist, as police arrive to apprehend the criminals, one of the officers could be revealed to be Buzz McAllister, Kevin's older brother, now a seasonal law enforcement officer. What do you think of this long-awaited potential sequel?
Well, like, I think that part of the twist was already done in the Disney remake, where
was it?
His older brother was a police officer who appears at the very end. Yeah, I mean, I everything that you've mentioned sounds so much better than what they did with not only the Disney remake but all the Home Alone sequels. I don't think there's really been a good one. So yeah, this one doesn't sound bad though. This one actually sounds like, you know, you're trying to like actually move the story along and do something new rather than just kind of repeating what Home Alone already did, but like watered down basically. Because I feel like that's kind of the pattern with all the Home Alone sequels. It's just like, hey, this is what happened in the first movie. Same thing happens here, except for not as funny.
Yeah, like I surprisingly find potential in this one.
Yeah,
I kind of dig the concept. You know, when you call it Home Alone again, though, I am curious. Like, in my head, I was like, please don't tell me Kevin leaves his kids at home. Like, it was just like, if this man didn't learn his own lesson in 2 movies, how's he gonna do that to his own kids? I guess, does anybody get left home alone? Like, did the people try and break into the house while they're home from, so like nobody really leaves the house, so the home is really not alone, right? So but I guess maybe if you just, is this another sequel, you know, I still think there's some things that need to be worked here, but the concept I think is definitely there. I do love the idea of it being a smart home and decked out in technology, and like hackers messing around in order to try and get in, and the kids like having to help their dad out in regards. Like, there's really cool concepts in there. I just think it needs to be built upon a little bit more.
In fact, I think also one of the other jokes too in the Disney remake of Home Alone was that like Kevin now like owns a home security system, so that would actually fit in continuity.
Yeah, I mean, I dig the idea of him being an architect. I mean, because if you're able to be that elaborate and coming up with traps and like you know, like I think there is an architectural purpose in there somewhere for Kevin. I kind of dig that as his career. Marky, what's up, Marky? Good to see you in here. I don't know if we ever gotten a comment from you, Marky Parko, but thank you so much. Thoughts on Jason Momoa returning in the new James Gunn DCU as the character Lobo? Is this a good idea, and would it confuse casual viewers who didn't know about a multiverse, what a multiverse is? And would it be hilarious if we eventually see him fight against a new Aquaman? Considering Momoa playing Aquaman in the upcoming DCEU, considering, I don't know if that was meant to be a question. Considering Momoa played Aquaman in the outgoing DCU, I can already imagine Jason as Lobo making fun of the new Aquaman, saying something like the other guy with long hair was way better looking.
I could see him making the joke that Peacemaker constantly makes about Aquaman and Fish if the two of them were to ever meet.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I don't think it would be too confusing for casual viewers. I mean, you're gonna have a makeup and a completely new design for him. I think people can suspend their disbelief, and I think Superman will establish the concept of this is a brand new world here. So I don't think there's any confusion, but I think it's a good idea. I guess my worry would be not so much confusing the casual moviegoer, but knowing Jason Momoa's bigger than life sort of presence when he gets on the screen and just who Lobo is. I am curious about what the script looks like, in the sense of, will he overshadow Supergirl in her own movie? It's crazy because it's like, while people argue that could potentially happen in Superman with all the supporting characters that we have. I just think Lobo was a vastly different presence than all the other characters that are in Superman. And so for me, I would just be curious about what the balance to the script is for a Lobo character for now being introduced alongside Supergirl in their very own movie for the first time. But can it work? I'm sure it probably can, but that would be more my hesitancy than the confusion of the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Blossom, Happy New Year, guys. Welcome back. If you guys saw Boom Boom Girl, isn't it cool that their boots worked like Heelys shoes? Oh yeah, no, I've always dug the wheels on the heels of the Boom Boom Girl boots for sure. The way that they use them in fighting or even just in their battles in general. I am planning on trying to jump back into Boom Boom Girl real quick. I did find the site that I was watching them on. It probably is a little bit lower quality than I would like, but I might try and see if I can finish the series before the new show begins. He says maybe the person in our Tokuja story who created them as Power Ranger battle wheels got inspired by Heely shoes and made it part of their powers. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you need to. Don't take that gimmick. Don't take that gimmick. If they had Heely shoes for a Boom Boom Girl, I would say. He said maybe the person in our Tokuja story who created them as Power Ranger battle wheels got inspired by Heely shoes and made it part of their power. Oh, I see what you're saying. Then maybe, but I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I guess whatever inspiration works for your character. If you were to redo Cosmic Fury, how would you do it? Personally, I would give them different Zords. Besides, I got plans for Q Ranger. If you were to redo Cosmic Fury, how would you do it?
I don't know if I would, honestly. I kind of thought Cosmic Fury was perfect for like what it was.
Yeah.
Like maybe if it had more money, then yeah, I would agree with the new Zords. Just because, yeah, I think the only reason they went with the Q Ranger Zords was because, they didn't quite have the budget for Zord fights. So maybe that's the only thing I would change. But other than that,
yeah, I probably wouldn't change anything too much about Cosmic Fury. Yeah, maybe put more money towards the suits, or I would be curious to see like what all the suits designs look like. I'm sure they probably dropped them on Twitter at some point in time, but I am kind of curious to see like what all the concept designs were for some of the Cosmic Fury suits to see what other options there might have been to go with. But yeah. But yeah, guys, that will do it for us for all of our live viewer questions, guys. So thank you so much for certainly supporting us and dropping your comments and questions. Love going through some of your guys' stuff each and every week. So we continue to appreciate it, y'all. Stuart, I wonder if we got anything big headed our way. We got 2 more episodes of Skeleton Crew. Episode 7 and then episode 8 in 2 weeks. Hopefully you'll be back this Wednesday. I think we're going to be back on schedule for our Wednesday show.
Hell yeah.
And then I think I got 1 more episode of Creature Commandos dropping later on that next week. Also, heads up, we do have our Creature Commandos episode 6 review dropping at 4 p.m. on our channel, so look out for that. Maybe I'll see a movie or 2 this week. I still had 2 other movies in mind. Maybe I can try and knock them out before Wolfman arrives in about a week and a half or so. So maybe we'll have some movie reviews up here for you guys. And then, yeah, if we have any big trailers or news that winds up dropping that we feel is worthy of talking about, maybe we'll drop a individual video for you guys as well. But January 29th, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, we will be doing reviews for that. And then in just over a month, Stuart, we're going to be having Captain America Brave New World. Let's see if we can do a spoiler review for that when that drops out. So hopefully maybe we can try and see it that first weekend it releases if you got the time.
I definitely will try my best to see it. Usually with like big Marvel or DC movies, I'm good at seeing those opening night.
Okay, yeah, cool. So maybe we'll try and see if we can do something that opening weekend. But yeah, that'll do it for us, guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. Stuart, if people want to find you on social media, man, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Instagram and on Letterboxd.
And yeah, if you guys want to follow us everywhere, as you see on the screen, at A Plus Opinions on social media. We're also on TikTok at Hero Report. Also on BlueSky at heroreport.bsky.social. And yeah, I would say if you want to follow us anywhere outside of our YouTube channel, which you should certainly subscribe to, check out our Facebook page. That's where we keep you posted on news, trailers, posters, behind the scenes stuff all throughout the week. And then we pick 6 topics from that page and we discuss them here for you at the end of the week, each and every week, live Sundays for you guys. But that will do it for us here. We'll certainly see you guys next weekend. But until then, do us a big favor, as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you later. Bye.